What time did you get back?
4:30. Somewhere in there.
Good day. Good.
Wait to your adoring public. Or why we're never on the level. Makes me feel like I broke something. We have more wires around here than a Cowboys broadcast.
Whatever you took the wire.
Yeah. Broadcast. Have you never seen football broadcast?
No, I have, but don't all of them. What does that have to do with Cowboys?
Because Cowboys have huge drops. So they have really good Giants probably same thing.
I just assumed they all have. Should go up there.
Dragon. Oh, geez. Dragon lady. Hey, let's go.
Right.
You guys are listening to this.
I have heard the possibility.
So I'm just meaning, are you in a position, are you set up for this?
Figure it out. Maybe we'll take a pause so I can switch over the.
You want me to tell you?
Well, yeah, we're gonna have to probably literally stop here for a couple minutes. I don't know why. I just noticed it too, and I'm like, that's why I was stretching so bad with that, I guess.
Okay. All right.
He said, there's nothing confirmed. That's the last item.
Okay.
That was that.
Nope, not even over.
Present us. Something you guys can talk about.
Come before you stand behind me, so that someone.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for your contributions.
Well, who made the decision? I don't even know. I put a call with you. Okay, I'll talk to you. So anyway, I mean, we're gonna figure it out. It's not a big deal. Are you going? Yes. We don't.
Oh, yes.
Why would we?
You're like, just like, you mentioned Alex.
And we're on heavy watch, Terry. He's in the labor. Nobody tries to do it.
Gosh, tough to find good help these days. You can fire the guy that wrote that.
I'll fire him, we fire him.
Don't know if it works that way. Gosh.
Yeah. All right. Because I knew what this Now we go right into South Africa. I can reach out and I know.
She's over, he's over. Oh, that's awesome.
Well, whatever, it is what it is. I'm just saying,
And Catherine just came, his work ethic. Making up for the funeral and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
so our building. They collect the books and things like
I love that
that.
picture, thank you. I sent it to Jen, and I'm assuming he's gonna send it to Stu.
Oh, my God.
That's really nice work.
So
And I remember, they should have some photographers.
Well, that's when we were on that side, I came out of the shop.
Yeah.
You know, we were trying to talk, well, like I said, I'm just standing there painting. Always since then I've been like, I think I used to see it everywhere, painting something, I just love the style.
Yeah, yeah. I love it, just the whole setup of the photo with the paint. I really enjoyed it, so thank you.
Good. I knew I kept it, I found it, I did, with my family photos.
Oh, so, yeah.
I'm in here.
Ed, will you do the pledge I asked? Will you lead us in the pledge?
No.
You want to do it?
No, not today, thanks.
Fine, Anna, you got this. 1 second.
I'm very good.
Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Being led by Anna Stanko.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good job.
Welcome to the first Village of Ballston Spa Board of Trustees meeting for the month of November, November 13th, 2023. Let's see, can I get a motion that the minutes of the October 23rd, 2023 meeting be approved? Trustee Fandesa.
Second.
Trustee Raymond, discussion. All in favor?
Just one question, when statements are made, like what about the Middle East, does that get attached to the minutes, or should it?
Typically, yes. I don't know that I ever got a copy of the revised one, and honestly, I forgot about it. You may have, I honestly forgot about it. I'll send it out with the next one.
But that's a general protocol, is it, whether it's that statement or someone else's statement, it'll be attached to
That's
that.
not this, is that possible to this?
Yeah, I doubt
It happened when this turned on.
Well, yeah, that's how that happened. If you turn it off, it won't do it, I promise.
That's me, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, the speaker's working.
Just getting for a little cross interference, I'm not sure why. Maybe we'll move the speaker away from a little bit, that might help. But anyway, you were saying,
Just, I just want people to understand when they submit a comment, if they send it to the village clerk, either at the board meeting or the next day, that they have actually made at the meeting or submitted before the meeting, that will comment or statement will be attached to the minutes for the following. Is that true?
That is correct.
Okay.
As I said, I'm not sure I have it, and if I do, I totally forgot about it.
Oh, that's fine. I'm just saying in
I will attach it to
general,
the next
in
one.
general. I mean, not just for that, but for any statement.
okay, are we approving this with changes, or agree, or are we just gonna let it ride to the next one?
There's no change. I forgot to attach one thing.
Okay, so,
There's no changes.
so with the attachment to be attached,
Mhm.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Here's announcements. We had an election, and it was very well voted in election overall. I think the most votes we've ever had in a village election, at least in modern days, about 1,230 votes. Part of it obviously coming in the November cycle, but we want to thank the county for running that election. We're still working with them on a couple of hiccups that we did encounter during that. And we're speaking with them to make sure that over the next year, especially in 2 years for village purposes, that they correct those errors and make sure that everybody is eligible to vote in the village of Ballston Spa, has that opportunity to vote in village races, because that was not always happening on election day. So we are making sure that the franchise is strong for everybody here. Ever since the redistricting, we're also having discussions about perhaps getting Union Firehouse back into the voting queue, because it was a little bit daunting for folks that were used to voting there, having to go to the Milton Community Center, which is not in the village boundaries, obviously. So some things that we learned kind of on the fly that we're trying to take care of. Do you want to elaborate on anything? Because I know that you had a couple concerns along the way, but.
Mainly, just I had my eye on some of the information, probably as the other side did on, from the Board of Elections. Kind of learned on the fly that things changed, and we asked the Board of Elections to please communicate that better with the village, because regardless of where you are in the politics, this is a part of our government, the process of elections. So we expressed very deeply how, like, we really wish there was communication, and we are talking with the county about improving that. I know that they have a little tweaking with GIS information that we noticed. It did not impact anyone other that I believe they were able to vote by affidavit. But so, I mean, saw it, communicated already, and it is on their, at least their radar, and I'm sure we'll have more information to go forward. So there you go. I'm sorry.
There we go.
Yeah.
Also, thank you for that. We are in the process of evaluating the Pulp Street Mill issue with the drainage pipes that you may have heard us talk about, that Ray had brought to our attention. Right now, Labella has gotten DEC involvement, and SHPO to sign off on the work to be done. Any work that's going to be done has to be done by a date in December. At this point, we're extended directly with DEC. So we are beginning to go down the road of what will this cost, how to fix it, because as it was told me, it is an extraordinarily steep bank, and so making this fix is not going to be easy at the end of the day. And so stay tuned for that. Also, today, very late today, I just got some dollar assessments on the sewer pipe in Wiswall Park. There's 3 different ideas to handle that, and all 3 are basically in the $180,000 to $230,000 range to handle the sewer pipe in Wiswall Park. I'll be sending that around to the trustees to evaluate that and make decisions on the next moves with respect to that. However, one of the ideas was to go down Walnut Street. That's the most expensive, but also the least intrusive ultimately to the park. And then the ones that go to the park will cost us a tree or 2 trees in the process as well, and also put us at risk for digging up the park again in the future. So things are balanced there, but we appreciate Labella, who's been giving us concepts and ideas along the way now developing those so we can actually measure out what is going on or what the right choices are, or if any choice is even the right choice in the future with respect to that. Otherwise, not too much else right now to report on. If I think of anything else, we'll do it following the liaison reports, which we'll start right now with Liz. Okay, well, then we'll go to that. Let's just go down the line.
Briefly, the VSBPA, I've already kind of mentioned this before, beside the parade that they're planning for it again December 1st. They are getting ready for Small Business Saturday, which is around the corner because of Thanksgiving being right around the corner from us. One of the things that they're doing, I think will be a benefit for the future for the businesses and also for us to understand, they are doing a passport app to encourage people to, there's like benefits and kind of incentives for people to participate shopping on Small Business Saturday. But what the good thing they can do is get data, some demographic data on the kind of customers we're getting in the village, which is hard to tell other than, what people verbally report to small business owners. Additionally, they will be able to use it at events like the Chocolate Fest, which is really a very busy, populated event. So in the future, we'll have some better information of how people, who is spending money in our village and where they're coming from and how they're spending it, what kind of businesses. So that'll be in the future good information for us that I don't know that we always have other than 3 anecdotal sort of conversations. So they are doing also commercial with WMIT. And then they're also going to be in the November 24th edition of the Gazette. So a lot of efforts to promote businesses in our village, going forward to the holiday shopping season. So I hope that it really ends up benefiting our community a lot. You'll see on the agenda a motion for their efforts that they're planning in the park for that day. And I hope this board will support it. That's it for me.
One thing I forgot to say, by the way, also congratulations to Mary Price Bush. She'll be in addition to our board. The official year meeting starts because of January 1st is on a Monday. We pushed that to the Tuesday, January 2nd. Is that not correct? Ultimately? So the official year will start January 2nd, 2024 for swearing in and organizational meeting at that point in time. I meant to add that earlier. Apologize for that. Sean.
So, DPW's been really busy.
True story.
So they've made their second sweep on leaf pickup. And unfortunately, during that process, the vac truck that they use for leaves broke down. So, not the vac truck, it's a leaf vac truck. And they weren't able to repair, so they're gonna have a factory technician come in tomorrow and attempt repair. So they are switching back and doing a second sweep on brush. They plan to do after the second sweep, an additional third sweep. But hopefully by that point, everybody who has brush or leaves has put them out on the street. Because we're getting very close to switching to snow and ice. So, Kelly Park, the pickleball basketball court, had some issues that it had to be, basically the entire surface had to be milled up because there were some grading and leveling issues there that trying to shim up with asphalt would just be too expensive.
19 inches worth.
Really? So, yeah, it was lit off grade, so a little.
You'd be running uphill to play basketball in
Yeah.
certain cases.
Good drainage.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they milled it down and they're going to regrade tomorrow with paving the binder course on Wednesday. Obviously, it's a little tricky because you have to place all your posts for nets and other things in the binder before you can do the top course. And storm drainage project on Dublin Drive, there's several hundred feet of pipe and 4 or 5 structures they're working on that they need to repair. And they're winterizing our hydrants. They've begun that with a 1 to 2 man crew. We have 400 hydrants, so they started this week. That's gonna be a few weeks before they complete. And because it's usually, and when they're getting approximately one water meter reading for closing a day. So apparently the housing market's okay. So, and as I said, they're preparing for winter, for snow and ice. And they are really busy. It's a busy time of year for them.
And Ben,
Yeah, I just had a question about the pickleball, basketball court to be, what is the plan there? Are we getting something donated? Are we doing this ourselves?
we are, we're gonna get our $14,999 from the county for the fencing. The asphalt, is something that Papa suggested we donate. And now that we have a little bit more of a challenge here, we gotta see if there's something we're gonna have to chip in toward that because of the grading issues, et cetera, that we just raised. So, you have a conversation tomorrow actually with Jeff about that. And the services, aside from some minor stuff for Evolution will be donating as well. So thanks to Papa and thanks to Evolution for what they're going to be doing there to make that happen.
Wait, what's Evolution do?
So they do a construction company. They're doing.
The paving.
All right, they're doing it with,
Okay, Ben.
the Park and Tree Committee is continues to work on Wiswall design and with Studio A, and they're also working on park rules. Carl, I don't know if there's any timeline for the next draft of park rules that they could see, or we could see. But we're just wondering about that. And their next meeting is November 21st. It'll probably be at Cornell Cooperative Extension at 7 p.m. The Arts Committee, we're going to get to a motion for them. They submitted four or five projects for the village to be fiscal sponsors, and it's in attachments. And their next meeting is November 15th. And they have a Sound of Winter concert coming up. I don't have it on my fingertips, but if you look them up on their website or Facebook page, they'll have the details. It's at Brookside.
We're all racing here to find it on our first pages, I think.
Saturday.
Saturday, yeah.
Saturday. This Saturday. What time?
Great.
Thank you. At Brookside.
Jane Street String Quartet.
November 18th, 3 p.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And then the professional group should be excellent.
And next up, I can get to it. Yeah, there we go. President's report. Yeah, that was the next one. Just it's on file in the attachments, but it says village office prepared and sent the re-levy for taxes and utilities. Utilities total, give or take, about $146,000, and the tax re-levy is $106,000. So total re-levy $263,049, which includes 7% penalties. Can expect to receive re-levy monies by February 2024 from the county, et cetera. Sales tax distribution was interesting to see, as October's amount was 16.9% higher than a year ago. Year to date, we're seeing that Saratoga County is up 7.4 million or 6.94% from the previous year's same period. There's an interesting thing, if you look in the attachments that was included about pre-COVID trends and the like about sales tax. Also comparative last year in every county as well. So you want to see that probably. And also just know that Local Government Support Services LLC is the new name for our accounting firm, formerly EFPR. So if you hear Local Government Support Services or LGSS, that's what that means now, the old EFPR. They provided us with our financial reconciliation for the month of October 2023, which has been provided to the mayor and the village trustees. So that is the treasurer's report. The AUD is getting finished up still. We are, one of the challenges this year is by changing the accounting software. It's forcing a little bit more insistence on getting data from earlier in the year, especially over to EFPR that they might not have direct access to right now. So we are just trying to make sure they get everything they need and are finishing that up as we speak. Okay, no presentation tonight because we had so many items for old business, new business here. We'll start with sidewalk law, benefit assessment, tax allocation, reimbursement, loan approach, etc. Yeah, if I had any more slashes there, I don't think it would have fit. And Ben and I both had ideas and issues to be discussing in this one. That's why it kind of merged all that together. Ben, I'll let you start.
All right. I just had a quick, Melissa sent a late email, just following up on the treasurer's report. Do we need to do anything with the deputy treasurer position at this meeting tonight?
Well, yeah, that was going to be another business, but
Yeah.
there's a desire to hire a new deputy treasurer.
It was, but your volume's not turned all the way down and I can still hear you out of the speaker.
That's the,
Your volume's down. I don't know what to do unless you want me to give me the other speaker.
Sean's, be better?
It might be.
I need to do
Switch
that.
your-
I'll keep mine off too, just in case.
That thing,
Don't point it in that direction too, I would say, because it's unidirectional.
is it better this way?
I think it might be.
Directly into your, like, from your mouth, because. it
She can also
starts
turn it
picking
down
up-
by doing that too.
It starts picking up ambient noise and which causes the feedback, so.
All right, go talk.
That was well done.
Music, band.
I'm out of the speaker.
Yes, come
All
right
right,
on.
they can
I
hear
got
me? All right, thank you. So, I'm just gonna start,
To answer your question though, yes, in old business or other business, we'll do the deputy treasurer discussion. If you want to go to an executive session for some reason, discuss personnel matters, we could do it at that point too, okay?
sure.
So there you go.
Yeah, just wasn't sure if we overlooked it or not, so.
No.
Good. All right, I just want to talk a little bit about the sidewalk, discussion that we're having, ongoing discussion about this very high priority, topic. I didn't know actually that the draft I sent was gonna be on the attachment. I didn't think it was really ready for that, but, that's fine. It's, for people to see the kinds of things we're talking about. One thing people should know, I was a little very taken aback by this, was, the mayor's election day statement on his official Facebook page, quote, "This morning, an over 15% sidewalk tax was proposed in Ballston," was entirely inaccurate, to put it nicely. The people of Ballston should know three things. No sidewalk tax was proposed, as you can see in the attached law. The statement was just a false election day political attack. And number three, we'll only get the sidewalk network we want by having the village invest significantly more funds into the sidewalk system. The truth is, I propose taking 5% annually from the general fund for sidewalks. That is using money we are already collecting, not new taxes. In my opinion, we can afford to spend 5% of the fund balance on sidewalks, one of our community's top priorities. The fund balance is over 1.5 million in 2020, grew to almost 2.6 million in 2021, approximately 3.8 million in 2022. It is about 4.5 million in 2023, so averaging $1 million growth every year. Though Carla determined we cannot put the 5% into law, which I suspected actually the next day when I remembered with Woods Hollow, in conversations with Superintendent Ostrander and Barb Kerr, we were doing some discussion about terms, and one of the terms they said, "Oh, we can't commit, administrations and budgets beyond 1 year." And so when I thought of that, I sent an email saying, well, it's possible we can't put the 5% into the law, but nevertheless, I think it is something we can do in principle. I believe we should commit to spending 5% of our unassigned fund balance annually on sidewalks for as long as it's feasible. If we did this for 15 years and the fund just stayed stable and didn't go up as it has been,
we could fill in all the sidewalk gaps, fix most of the worst sidewalks, and still have over 3 million in the fund, assuming just a 3% savings rate. Currently, we're at 4%. Given current spending trends, the general fund will still be over 30% of our annual budget in 15 years, which is still within the range of 25 to 50% recommended by the controller. The general fund, and one thing to keep in mind, you know, there's lots of needs in the village, and sidewalk I consider a very high need, or a lot of people do. It's not just me. And the general fund is taxpayer dollars. It should be put to use for the benefit of the community and not just keep piling up higher and higher. So right now it's about 67%, and it is reasonable to spend some of those funds on high priority needs. Just as we take responsibility for streets, I think we should take responsibility for sidewalks. Sidewalks are part of the street system. Another way to think about this, sidewalks are a public good. They're not really private property. So why are we saddling private property owners with the cost and liability for something as a public good and public property? I think it makes more sense for the village to take responsibility for this public asset. That way we can make strategic investments and not wait for random property owners to make improvements at their leisure when they can afford it. We'll never fill all the gaps with this current system. And again, the comprehensive planning committee, and it's in the comprehensive plan, that's their words, that the current system is broken. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to find a better way. There's certainly room for disagreement on a proper approach, and there's more than one way to move forward. However, when a board member puts forward a proposal and the mayor's only response is to post an inflammatory, inaccurate, fear-mongering accusation, skewed data that is designed simply to shut down discussion, not inform it, it shows the mayor is more concerned about his personal political agenda than the welfare of the village. So I agree that we should explore loans. We should raise the reimbursement rate. That is something that this board was talking about before. Mayor Rossi and Trustee Van Densen were on the board. So there are plenty of room to talk about what can happen and move forward. But I just feel like we need an approach where the village does take over actually getting it done. I have more I could say on that, but I'm sure Mayor Rossi will have some comments and I'll probably want to respond.
Okay. Mayor Rossi's done running for mayor, so he doesn't really care one way or the other on his political ambitions. This has been a great ride, and I'm going to enjoy the next 4 years, I hope, and everything else. But this is it, and so we're going to do what's right for this village. Period! Exclamation point. And what's right? Excuse me. What Mayor Rossi feels here is that he is sat here and watched a reimbursement change in law and some other law changes that we worked on for a year go up in smoke that you're now saying you're okay with. Well, why didn't we pass those? First off, that's number one. Number two, we're sitting here right now with you still talking as if you know what the costs of this are. And the last time we had this whole discussion, you had $5,000 in for administrative costs. Have you sat down with Jeff? Because I have, and asked him, okay, even if we contract it out, what will the cost be to the village in terms of, do you need more staff to execute this because of the inventorying and the administrative stuff that goes with it, not even in the office for the, whatever you want to call it, the financial aspect when you were doing benefit assessment, but even the tax or whatever it's going to come out to be, which will take manpower hours as well, but just the overall approach. Jeff is buried as it is. And he said, I absolutely need to hire somebody else. That is $60,000 flat out, if not more. So, I got excited. So there's that. Insurance wise, we're going to get our friends from NYMER over here in the next meeting, hopefully, to discuss it. And I've seen a lot of comparisons thrown in my emails about Syracuse being unaffected by taking over sidewalks, and Skinny Atlas, which had a 1-paragraph sidewalk code before they changed the sidewalk code. We are a low claim risk village, and as such, that's why talk about our current code as an approach as beneficial to the village from a liability standpoint, because that's protecting us. That gives us that classification. Once that changes and claims start coming in because we're not insulated in that same way anymore, that's going to hurt us. And it's going to hurt us in terms of premiums down the line. So there's that. On top of it, you have yet to bring up the words prevailing wage, which is what you have to encounter when we start contracting it out. And it is, and Carla had said this months ago, 50% juice up basically on pricing from everything she's seen in her other municipalities she works with, everything I've seen since we've been talking about this. So that $6,000 sidewalk automatically costs $9,000 just because we're handling it, not to mention the administrative costs. And then there's this continuous rotation on what we're doing, benefit assessment, or, you know, we're just going to take 5% out of the general fund, which, by the way, houses our fire funds, CHIPS money, money from the towns for X, Y, and Z events, and many other things that aren't germane to taking a direct 5% out of. And so I'm not sure how people would feel about that. So for instance, if CHIPS went up, we'd have to give 5% automatically out of CHIPS into sidewalks. If our fire funding went up, 5% would automatically have to come out because it's not segregated. Our water funds, 5% would come out of that instead of toward the tower and the other millions and millions and millions of dollars of renovations we need to do and problems we need to fix. But first things first, we allocate every dime of our budget every year. Our $6.2+ million general fund is fully allocated with $100,000 set aside for contingency, but that's still contingency that you need to have in contingency. So by allocating every penny, you're going to have to cut something if you don't raise taxes, $310,000 worth of stuff, maybe minus a little bit of what you would save from the $40,000 that we currently put aside for sidewalks. But you would be basically going on austerity, as Sean has liked to use before, an austerity budget approach, or tax people to death on this one. And that's until you can tell me where you're going to cut costs, it's a tax increase if you were able to do it, period. You need to get the money from somewhere. You have to fill the gap for allocations purposes. So that's where you're at. So again, the approach I've been talking about, and a lot of people have actually stood up and said it's not a bad idea if it can work, and it's worked in other municipalities, is leaving it in the property owner's hands, but making sure you're doing the 50% reimbursement, which again, remember, when it's in their hands, costs less money for that sidewalk in general, so there's money savings to start. And then on top of that, getting the loan pool, and for those that are in the most need, you can give them, if they can prove needs-based situations, a 15-year term to pay it back. We're about to close next year on a loan from the USDA at 2.5% for about $1.1 million. And so we're able to take that money and turn it around at 4% as an interest rate for people that want to basically get a loan for the other 50% of their sidewalk. Then we've covered an administrative expense, if there is any, as it is, and we're making sure that we're getting back the interest we're paying on that money for any chunk that we give out at that point in time. So on top of it, there are grants available federally for the loan pool, to set up the loan pool, maybe not for the entirety of it, but at least to get some portion of it. So what I would suggest at the end of the day here is, instead of trying to cram this through or cram this down, because that's what it smells like to everybody around here, let's work together on identifying grant money we can get, code changes we need to make to allow us to accept the grant money, because we never did fix that, and also getting the reimbursement back up to the 50% level that we were talking about for over a year. And let's start giving people the incentive to comply with sidewalks and the ability for us to actually enforce the code without hammering somebody over their head with a big bill and no ability to give them some sort of relief like a loan or a 50% reimbursement, or both at the end of the day. We're sitting here spinning our wheels and trying to cram down something that's just going to get overturned probably in a month. And to what effect? To what effect?
If your plan, was put into place,
you are prepared to enforce the code, which means everybody that has a sidewalk rated as a 1 or a 2 is going to get a notice.
0 or 1.
No, 1 and 2.
0 is the problem. We have to talk about that next.
0 are the gaps. 1 and 2 are sidewalks that are not ADA accessible. It's close to 50% of the sidewalks in this village, okay? They are gonna get a notice saying, you have to fix your sidewalk, okay? So that person will come and ask for 50%, and they're gonna have to come up with 50%. And that 50% could be thousands of dollars. I mean, minimum $4,000 for a small lot. So if you're willing to do that and take the heat for that, these other programs are, you know, the assessment program is a small amount of money from everybody put into it. Us systematically doing the sidewalk street by street instead of a piecemeal approach. And I talked to a number of other municipalities. By the way, Cortland only spent $40,000 on their sidewalk program.
No, they've included another 20,000 because they ran out of money for it, so they've
No,
actually,
they started
they've padded it. They keep putting 20,000s in.
Okay, well, anyways.
I had breakfast with that mayor. I think I know what is happening in
In
Cortland.
2023, there were only 23 people who signed onto the program. They base it on complaints. So somebody complains, they give them a notice. They also pay a company to administer their program, so they have administrative costs. With a loan program, you're gonna have administrative costs. The thing is that some of these towns, which one is it here? A company, Cortland, I think it was Auburn. I talked to folks in Auburn who have a loan program and Waterville. Yeah, in Waterville, they had a 5-year loan, 5% up to 6,000. Folks had to get their own contractor. They found that people weren't paying the loan and they had to go after them. So,
Well, like, it's gonna go into taxes, Liz, if you're savvy about it.
well, their attorney said that you can't put it on the tax.
You absolutely can.
Well, anyways, still, it will be administration to manage a loan program and a reimbursement program. And you're gonna still have the same amount of effort by DPW going out to examine the sidewalks. That's gonna be with any program. So, you know, the insurance issue, I spoke with both Henry Van Dan Eber and Ken Gray. And what they related to me was a little different than what you related in your Facebook post. Ken told me that the current market increase rate is between 7 and 9.5%, and that could double if we take on the sidewalk. That doesn't mean the total amount of insurance will double, that increase will double. So talking to them, they said, yeah, it may double in a few years. They have no prediction as to when it would happen. So, by the way, the Skinny Atlas total liability insurance is lower than ours.
Skinny Atlas had a 1-paragraph sidewalk code, 1 paragraph.
But they are now doing an assessment plan and they're paying 65,000 and we pay 96.
102.
Oh, 102. They look at the thing.
They also have half the population.
True.
Well, I also collected some insurance information, so people should know, right now, we're paying 102,000 on insurance, and it's been going up by about $8,000 a year, so we can all guarantee that insurance is gonna go up by a significant amount, like, let's say 7-9%, even if we do nothing. The idea that it's going to go up 60 to 100,000, I think, is completely unfounded. That's what Frank stated.
That's from
And
Ken Gray
I
himself.
think it's
Ben.
fear mongering. I don't think, we're paying 100,000 now, and he is saying that.
In Western New York, there's a municipality that did this. Ultimately, it was a no code scenario, which means that essentially it falls on their shoulders as the municipality. And what happened was they were at 200,000 versus our 100,000, and they've gone up to 400,000 as a result of this situation. It doubled.
All right, so
So 60,000 was being actually conservative.
So that, no, I think that's pure hypothetical conjecture. If we look at towns and villages, municipalities that currently are responsible for their own sidewalks, they range from about 0.7% to 1.7% of their total budget. If you look at the percent of the budget, ours is 1.6%. So of the towns and villages or in our area that have this, it is not doubling, it is not doubled. And Skaneateles is a good example of how their insurance rate did not double by budget. They paid less than us compared to their whole budget than we did. So, so it's just, if you look at actual reality versus conjecture, the reality is that it shouldn't go up 60 to 100,000. There's no basis for saying.
October 23rd, from Ken Gray, which was our last meeting date, by the way, at 5 o'clock. Hi, Frank, just wanted you to be aware, I received a call from Mary Lou from one of the village trustees. Advised we strongly discourage the village from accepting the liability associated with maintenance and replacement of sidewalks. I did promise I would ask Nymer what other communities are doing as a solution, but that I would not have an answer today. I stated this is a tool that the village does not want to lose in preventing potential lawsuits. I know it wasn't the answer they wanted to hear, but I think they understood. Ken.
The liability question, there is a sentence in our current code under 174-5C. In the event that an owner of adjoining premises fails to comply with the provisions of this section, and by reason of such failure, injuries to persons and damage to property result, then in such event the owner shall be liable for such injuries or damages. It is applying to section 174-5. That section is removal of snow, ice, dirt, enforcement liability, but it doesn't appear to apply to 174-1 construction and repair and 174-21 maintenance of sidewalks and curbing. Notice action upon request. I think the only part where we have that protection is in the snow and ice section. So if we take over the maintenance repair, I don't think it'll change. We'll keep that sentence in the snow and ice. And I have a call out to Henry to see what his opinion is, but it seems like that sentence, which is the key sentence that we're talking about, is limited to one section, snow and ice.
Henry is the person that told us months ago that we have the exemplary code that they actually advertise to other villages to utilize. So I think Henry knows what our code is.
But we don't have exemplary sidewalks, and
I'm well aware.
Insurance is one piece of the puzzle. It cannot drive the conversation.
Ben, you're getting $300,000 a year from this 5%. You're going to spend $160,000 on administrative alone on top of
That's
prevailing
your
wage.
numbers. I think
What's prevailing wage?
Your
Ben?
numbers.
Ben, what's prevailing wage?
Your number.
Ben, what's
just
prevailing
like
wage?
You're doing now. Your
Ben,
approach-
what is prevailing
your
wage?
approach is
I
to
can tell you
shut
what
down
the value
conversation.
50%.
I've already told you, $25 a square foot.
50%.
That's $125 a linear foot.
The current cost in Ithaca to do sidewalks for 2024 is $23 per square foot.
50%.
What?
Right. and
Because
every-
Ben paid 16, correct?
And I'd rather have the village pay for my sidewalk than me pay 16. I'd rather have the village pay 23 than me pay 16, because overall I'm gonna pay less. And that is true for every homeowner and property owner.
Really? The Colonial Hills folks want to basically pay for your juice up on the sidewalk?
Every property owner will pay less than if they pay it themselves. And every.
So Colonial
person-
Hills will pay less by having
every-
a tax instead of a sidewalk not there?
Well, every property owner that has a sidewalk. for
Okay,
sure.
well, there's a
And
lot of
every
people.
property owner in the village that is part of the village will benefit from having good sidewalks. And many people are willing to pay something for that benefit, that asset.
And many people are not.
So,
It's already been shown, I think Anna, when we had the coffee, virtual coffee, I think we had said 110 linear feet.
210.
Well, on two properties, but I said, let's take one property, basically. 110 linear feet under a 50% reimbursement plan, and loan approach would cost both the resident or the taxpayer and the village less, even without administrative expenses, than what the prevailing wage effect ultimately would be to both parties. That basically, by going to a benefit assessment or a taxing approach, which is even worse than a benefit assessment in terms of most properties that are 250 or greater in their assessment, that basically it's a worse than zero-sum game. It's basically loss.
Your
on that.
private cost was too low and your public cost was too high.
It was 50%, Ben, either way. It basically just saying, take this number, go by 50%. So $16 is
Okay,
the number
wait
that's
a second.
24.
Frank, can you publicly make the commitment? that
Liz, the
if- no,
idea, yes,
excuse
I know
me.
what your commitment is, so I'll say it
No.
already. Yes, we will enforce. Yes.
You
we-
will send out a notice to every
Listen,
property
no,
owner.
what we will be doing, Liz, is actually going out to the worst ones and doing that, yes, the absolute worst ones. And then we're gonna use our 11-year street program, repayment program, to identify May 1st is what I would suggest. Jeff, identify the streets you're going to repave with CHIPS money by May 1st. And then basically send notices out to those streets, property owners that have sidewalks in disrepair, that they have 3 months to get them done.
So you're gonna disregard the ADA transition plan where they.
No, I said in addition to use basically the 11-year cycle, because by 3 11-year cycles, you've done every sidewalk that's on a street side adjacent over 33 years, which is less time than what the benefit assessment plan would really take in with the administrative expenses. So actually, yes, we are handling it in a way that's expeditious and also focused on making sure that once a street is done, the street is done in its entirety with the sidewalk scenario.
Yeah, also, do you realize by putting in that sentence and giving liability to the homeowner, that they can be, they'll have their,
Do you have homeowners insurance?
yeah, and if you get a major claim for somebody, you talked about a claim of how much that that municipality has, that will go on the shoulders of residents. And you can
It
pretty
will
well,
go on the shoulders of the residents' insurance
yes,
carrier.
and you can pretty well
And if
guarantee
they
that
fix
they
the
will
sidewalk, what
lose-
happens?
that they will lose their insurance with that kind of claim.
They will
That's
not,
what-
okay, the fear mongering
Ken Gray said that would be the likely.
for a single episode and then a repair? No.
If
Liz.
they get sued because they did not fix their sidewalk.
If we get sued 5 times, then we're gonna lose our insurance, aren't we?
We're not gonna get,
Oh, we're not?
no. Insurance is gonna go up a little bit, but the whole thing
Okay,
is,
so there is an administrative expense,
of course, it's administrative.
more than
expense.
$5,000.
So your program has as well.
But the one that we were using for benefit assessment is
No, actually,
$5,000.
Scanny Atlas has no administrative expense, they handle it.
Skinny Atlas just went up 20% of their taxes, their personnel
That
expenses
has
went up
nothing
40%.
to do with the
Lit-
sidewalk
And they
program.
admitted in their minutes for their budget this year, in that 20% increase, that they have underestimated what they
No,
should have
they're
put
gonna,
in.
they're gonna raise.
They're gonna raise their benefit
So they
assessment,
only had $75.
which you wanted 50.
The
Well, 50
average,
to 100, to more than 100.
yeah, so they're gonna have to raise it to do more sidewalks, but it's changing their municipality. Sidewalks are getting done in Scanny Atlas, in.
How many linear
Syracuse,
feet have
in
gotten done? I
Italy.
asked you the other day, you didn't give me that answer.
It doesn't.
Yes, it does.
No.
It does matter. How many linear feet have gotten done?
I don't know.
Well,
I
that would
know
be a
for
very
Syr- I
important
know
question.
Syracuse, how much, they've gotten 12 miles done. this
How many
year.
miles of street does Syracuse have?
500.
So they got 2% done.
Mhm. And Ithaca, they've.
Compared to us,
So where are we going here,
And
folks?
then Ithaca has 90 miles
I
of sidewalk
wanna-
and they got 20 done.
wow, that's great. I want to remind people, the reason we didn't pass the last law is because the current system and the system you're advocating for, Frank, does nothing to fill the gaps for people who do not have sidewalks.
You can't always fill the gaps because you don't control the property.
Many of the gaps are in the right of way.
Based on what mapping?
It could be established that they are in the right of way based on maps that exist or based on work that is done. And there are many sidewalks that
Yeah.
have gaps that
they're
need to be
like-
fixed.
So
Not everyone can be fixed, but many, many.
a lot of them
many.
can't be fixed.
There are
There
many that
are
can be.
houses
One at
on
a time.
hillsides. And enforcing our municipality to try to install sidewalks there doesn't even make sense. I mean,
Well, you can't base a rule on the worst case scenario.
but what are you
do it
gonna
on
do,
what the
but I'm
general
saying,
need
what are
is.
you gonna be doing in those worst case scenarios?
Then you do it on, one piece of our approach was to at least have one side of the road, a continuous sidewalk, and that would be the side that is most conducive to a sidewalk.
Most of the gaps
I don't recall
are,
reading that though.
are between two sidewalks, where
Right.
people have torn up their original sidewalks, like on Hyde Boulevard. There's been pieces
In
torn
fact,
up.
if you gave someone notice that they had a bad sidewalk, they could just tear out their sidewalk.
There's
nothing
nothing High
stopping.
Boulevard sidewalks right now.
There'd be nothing stopping someone just tearing up the sidewalk. In fact, we have in our fee schedule that DPW will take their sidewalk debris away for free. So there's actually an incentive for people to take out their sidewalks right now. And that's the only reason we didn't pass the other sidewalk law. The three of us, Nisha and Liz, wanted something in there about gaps and addressing the gaps. And you refused to address it, and it still remains. a
Refuse to
problem.
address, we had an agreement after doing a Holy Thursday, as I'm always reminded by Carl, a Holy Thursday special meeting. And we were done, we were ready to pass a law.
So we're not
and then
gonna
suddenly
fill
the
in
law
the
wasn't-
gap on Malta Ave on the way to the rec field. We're not gonna fill that. gap.
Liz,
You have
nobody's,
to put sidewalks on your property, and we left it without sidewalks for how long have you lived here?
I
How long
have
is
three houses on
But
one
you've
side.
been saying you
one-
really like sidewalks everywhere, so why don't you?
Yes,
practice
because
the
it doesn't make
teaching?
sense to build a sidewalk to nowhere.
A lot could be said about the rest of the village.
So Malta Ave, where the kids go from BACC to the rec field every summer, we're not gonna touch that, right?
nobody said we are or aren't, but the point of this
No, you
discussion,
just said we're not filling in gaps.
How
That's
will
a
we
gap.
address the gaps?
well, when it comes to school-owned property, we have a different discussion
No,
we
it's
have
not
in
school.
school-owned property, don't we?
It's
It's
not
not
school
school-owned.
owned, it's Malta Ave.
Oh, you're talking, where are you talking?
Between Malta.
Oh, well, first off, part of the land on Ralph Street to Malta Ave is ours, so that would be us anyway. We own the triangle.
That's on the other side of the street where it's not very practical to build a sidewalk. You want to continue.
Actually, we get more requests about this than you would, ever
You
care to
want to
think.
continue the
There, it
existing
is a fact, there
sidewalk.
are gaps where there should be sidewalk. What are we going to do about that? How are we going to?
Incentivize somebody to actually build the damn thing.
How?
Oh,
I give 50% reimbursement and a 50% loan that basically is less than the tax you people are trying to shove down their throats. I think that's a great way to do it.
In addition.
So what are we gonna do with this?
so you're gonna include gaps.
So I think, as I mentioned before on email, I think this is a whole meeting unto itself.
I don't hear him in the microphone.
We can do
Is
that.
he
It's
there?
being picked up for the recording, not.
It is.
Oh,
We also then, microphone's not making show too, so.
okay. So I think it would be a good idea to have a special meeting on this, to iron some of this out. Thank you. And I think, sooner rather than later, as far as I'm concerned, I think some of the things that also need to be addressed that haven't been spoken is, we recently had a ADA transition plan issued, a public document that identifies every location that is ADA deficient. So that is a public document. Based on conversations I've had with colleagues at DOT, that represents prior notice. So as far as liability goes, if we have prior notice and we don't have a set plan to do specific sidewalks in a period of time, that opens us up to liability. So our insurance is gonna go up unless we do that. So, and also just to clarify, state highway law clearly dictates that not only sidewalks within our right of way, but any sidewalks adjoining our right of way are also the responsibility of the municipality to keep ADA compliant. So, we can certainly defer the construction and repair onto the individual property owner. But we must understand now that the toothpaste is out of the tube, that an ADA deficient sidewalk being in a public document means that you were given prior notice. So that if anybody gets hurt on your property, you will be 100% liable for that. And obviously, the village has pretty big shoulders. I feel bad for somebody who ends up getting litigated for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. I don't know many people who have homeowner policies up to that level. So, you know, God forbid that your insurance doesn't cover all of the damages. You end up having to sell your home. So.
Question, I'm sorry, so you said DOT said that that document acts as prior notice and would create liability. Are there case studies or anything like where that's been true or?
It's in state highway.
It was confirmed by.
The state has- Okay,
I'd
well,
like to borrow Terry's microphone while she doesn't need it right now.
so anyway, state highway
It was
law.
confirmed by Henry Van Heaver that we have received notice.
Interesting, because a crack is not an ADA scenario in and of itself. And it will still be charged back to the property owner in that situation. So what defines an ADA non-compliance? Is it ramping? Is it a condition, a heave? What is it exactly? We're throwing these terms around, but we're looking in real time here at questions about ADA prior written notice on sidewalks.
Carrie said it was a 1/4 inch edge,
Displacement.
which is really a little small, man, unfortunately.
So basically, you gotta do every sidewalk from here to Kingdom Come, basically, if that's the case. That's not even feasible. So if you're saying, let me ask you a question. How many miles of sidewalk do you think are ADA non-compliant currently?
Well, you have that in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all in the ADA.
Okay, how many miles of sidewalk are currently not ADA
Oh,
compliant?
wow.
So 10 miles of sidewalk, okay, times 5,280 linear feet, it's 52,800 linear feet, times 5 feet across is 260,000 square feet, times $25. Well, there's our fund balance, folks. Have a great night.
Well, obviously you don't do it in 1 year.
Well, you're telling me I've got to do it, and you're telling me I've got to do it like right now. I got to go put out notices in 5 minutes.
Actually, that's not what the law states. The law states you have to have a repair plan that is in a reasonable time, 5 to 10 years.
Okay, there you go. And an 11-year,
No, that's comparable, 10, 11 years, it's, but,
okay, thank you.
but that needs to address all of those, and I'm not, it also should be done in a priority list, as obviously the worst are done first, not necessarily by what we're gonna pay. Because that still leaves.
I
a
said,
lot of
I
folks.
said you can do both. They actually, you can go after the worst, first, and then while you're doing that, also get the street paving. So to get, let's say, the best of the rest.
Right, and we would also need to have implemented in the plan that probably every 3 years, we need to go reassess all the sidewalks, because a lot of them will go into ADA non-compliance, which will also have to be repaired.
The other thing to realize that was sort of a surprise to me is that the plan does not include gaps. They only evaluate sidewalks that exist. So even though there's a sidewalk and then a gap, in which someone would have to go into the street to get to the next piece of sidewalk, they don't count that. So whatever's in their plan doesn't actually include the gaps. And I just worry that people will not, even with the 50% reimbursement that we all support and the loans, which I think is a fine idea, it's really not a, it doesn't benefit the person. It's a public good. So many people will be like, my quality of life doesn't improve by investing $5,000 in a sidewalk in front of my house. I'm not gonna do that unless someone tells me I have to, and that's my worry.
Nobody's gonna be investing $5,000 in a single clip, and if you're having them pay a tax, that's equivalent to $2,500 they have the sidewalk that they're responsible for.
My latest suggestion is to use funds that we have in the unassigned fund balance, which is 4.2
Ben,
million.
we have $55 million that you signed off on that we have to do of water and sewer work. Where are you gonna find this money? You have
The
a revenue,
revenue, the
Water and
revenue
sewer
committee,
gets paid by water.
yeah, they'll be
sewer bills.
coming from water, and the water bills are going up.
I love that your campaign manager has been on social media lately, excoriating me for spending money like a drunken sailor. And you people are sitting here saying, just take $300,000 every year out of fund balance, it'll be okay. No, it won't.
We don't have fund campaign.
Yeah, he has. Anyway, great discussion.
But again, I would like to get back to scheduling a special meeting to discuss this further. I propose, November 20th.
Nope. Not available.
I can do it 1 o'clock. Do you get in the office?
I will not be around.
Are 3 trustees in the office?
Well, you
Are
can.
you really gonna do that? Don't be like that. I
Well,
know
when
you
are you
work
available?
Yeah.
When are you available?
But don't start something
Let's
that
take
you're
this
not gonna
offline.
wanna
We've
have
already
happen
been
next month.
talking for how
or the
long
next
at
month.
this point on the one subject. Let's take it offline. Let's keep moving.
BOA consultant
Right.
selection, trustee
Right.
Cormos.
No, you can't just.
I said, let's take it offline and
We're-
schedule it.
we're- I'd like to hear a discussion of whether there's an interest in a
How much
public
discussion do you
meeting.
need? I just said, let's take it
Are
offline
you
and
interested,
schedule
are
it.
you
I
interested?
said, let's take it
Are you
offline
in-
and schedule it.
I'm
Are you
asking for a
listening?
yes, no.
I said,
I'm
and
asking
schedule
for a
it.
yes,
One
no.
at
Are
a
you
time.
not reading
Are
what
you
I'm saying?
One at a time.
Ben,
Are you interested in a special meeting?
sure, but what I said was, let's take it offline. We have a whole agenda of discussion. People want to talk, to get their 5 minutes in,
We can't
and
schedule
Excuse
a
me?
public meeting except at a public meeting.
I said, let's take the scheduling offline and do that. I have work stuff I have to be at for the state, so I can't do the 20th for
All right,
certain.
so we're, at this
So-
meeting, we're going to say we will have a special meeting and the time and date will be finalized, following this meeting.
Sure.
Liz, are
I know.
you interested in a special meeting?
Sure.
I'll go to a special meeting, it's fine.
BOA consultant selection, Liz.
By this time, let's see, it's been almost 2 weeks since we received the proposals for the BOA consultant. Since there is no committee to review, those responses, it falls in the hands of the board to select one of those consultants. And I'm hoping that my fellow trustees and the mayor have read those proposals by now. I have read them through. I do have a number of questions that I would like to pose to all three, because basically the way they presented their experience didn't really, indicate completely whether it, what stage of the process they were working on and whether they were the primary consultant and not. So the BOA process has multiple steps. We're at the very first step, which is the nomination plan. So we do a plan, and if we're successful, we get picked by the Department of State. And not every plan gets picked. So it's a sort of competitive, is that correct? Yeah. So this is the critical point, because once you're nominated to be a BOA area, then that opens up the doors to all kinds of money. You can do a pre-development funding and do more studies and zoning and infrastructure analysis and things that would really benefit. After, doing those things, and also you could get monies to help with environmental studies, etc. And then the last step is actually implementing a project. And, communities have leveraged their planning to receive all kinds of funding, including, the downtown revitalization and etc. So I would like to get the agreement that we could send these questions.
You were already told by email that that's fine, she's gonna be doing that. I don't know why we just had to launch a 5-minute discussion on that.
I didn't receive an email about that.
I said to you, I'm happy to do it. I thought they were good questions and you said we'll talk about it here. So
Okay, so I just wanted to bring it in front. I asked if anybody else had any other questions from the group, and I would think that they can turn these questions around
We're fine with questions, I think. Liz?
quickly and request them to be sent to us by the end of the week. Also, one of the other things, based on doing this for last 20 or 30 years, helping clients evaluate consultants, we should call their references.
I'm happy to do that.
And you got enough time
I can.
this coming week?
Yeah.
Oh, great, good.
All
So-
of this is not hard.
No, well,
But,
no, it's time to
and
see.
actually, I'm glad that there is questions. We should be asking
We're
questions.
supposed to be interviewing in some
We
format
should
or
be
another.
interviewing them at some point. I would like that. I think it even requires us to do that. At this point, my brain is tired. But, so if you guys have further questions beyond what Liz, I think what Liz is asking is good question. There are good questions because they are, bless you. You know, some people are clear about what's in process and what's been actually awarded, and then others, we're not clear who the primary is. So all of them are very good questions. If there are any burning questions as well, in addition to Liz, please email me and I will reach out to each of the principal folks on this.
Yeah, and I think it is a valuable discussion to talk about how we picking these people. It's not my understanding that we're actually interviewing these people. That's not always how it's done. You get a written application, and then you base your choice based on written, and that's my understanding of what we're doing.
Okay.
Well, the state, I believe, allows the interview process.
And then
So,
we better talk about that, because that's not
sure.
my understanding of how we're doing this.
Well, all we've got is Liz telling us how to do it. and
No,
it's,
this is, what you have is Liz coming to the board and presenting some questions. She's working with you, Frank, even though you.
I said-
He
neglected
doesn't
to
say
recognize
anything. Ben,
I'm
everybody's
basing-
on the same page,
That's a little bit
guys.
enough.
Everyone's on the same page. Let's not
Just a
be
tad.
fighting over this. So we'll get answers to the questions. There may be a need to have further discussion with certain proposers, you know, if it's not clear enough to us. I don't think it hurts to have conversation with applicants. We might find two sticking out to us that we just might need a little further discussion. Maybe the questions answer it. So let's please not get testy over something we don't need to get testy
It does
about.
need to be uniform.
Yeah,
We can't talk to one and not another. For example, we have to
Okay.
ask the same questions for everybody.
yes.
We don't have to interview, though. We could just send questions and get written responses.
Well, I am happy to email these questions. Like I said, if there are further burning questions, please email them to me tomorrow. And I will take care of this. And I will reach out to the folks that they are mentioning as reference for the projects that they, what do you call it, had listed here. And if there's specific ones that they point out that they've been a principal on from these questions, we'll also reach out to them.
Yeah.
But
Those
that-
are the ones you want to talk to.
Sean wants to know if they're a Cowboys fan or a Giants fan.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only
Okay.
thing
That's a
that
burning
matters.
question right there.
That's
That's the only thing that matters.
That's a good question.
All I was gonna say was, I'm happy that we got some response to our RFP from some very qualified
And
candidates.
we got a late response after extending too, so we all kind of asked that
That's
open-ended
great.
question, yep, so.
This is the set of proposers right here. We have 3, so just if anybody was curious. Reading.
And the other thing,
One,
just
two, or
to
three?
emphasize, and it was in the text that Liz sent, is that this is a very drawn out process, of like a multi-year process of BOA.
We have to fill out a schedule every quarter to tell what our goal dates are, and they go out to what, basically 2027,
Yeah, this grant, I think, goes all the way to 2027. This is
Right.
just the first step.
Right.
Most of the projects that are entering implementation were nominated in 2015. So you can see this is a pretty long.
So if you're enjoying this process now in 2023, you got 4 more years of it, folks, get ready.
Oh,
But that's just another reason to not have the zoning wait for the BOA. I mean, they inform each other, but the zoning,
That's not what they were saying.
You
It was
know,
just
move
to
forward.
to stagger it a little bit. They weren't saying wait until BOA was completely done. There's some staggering, that's all that was said.
Okay. Traffic counts as the Liz Cormo's hit parade on Old Business continues. Go ahead.
Okay, traffic counts, this is just, some good news. As you remember, we discussed, you know, the suggestion that we do some traffic counts. Unfortunately, it's getting a little late in the season, so we should probably implement this in the spring. But, we were looking at, you know, what that costs, and I happened to be talking to the folks at, CRTC, Capital Region Transportation Council, and discovered that they provide that service. They have a contract with a vendor, and they provide it free. So we can actually get 3-day, 7-day traffic recorder, volume, classification, speeds. They also have turning movement counts with and or without classification, which might really prove useful at Malta and Route 50. Because if we had the classification, we could see how many trucks are turning up Malta, and then, you know, that's the origin of many of the trucks that end up on Hyde and Columbia and Chapman. Also, they do bicycle and pedestrian counts. So these are services, we just have to fill out a form, and they said it takes about a month to, you know, get it underway, and they will do the work for us. So.
Thank you for that. I mean, you could have emailed us that too, though, in the last 3 weeks, or whenever you learned about it, and we could have actually gotten to a vote for it right now to proceed it to the degree we need to vote on it.
Well, it's a little late in the season because we've got snow coming, et cetera, so I.
It's 60 on Friday.
Well, okay.
ADA draft plan continue.
Just an update, you know, for that, they would, like to present at the next meeting. So
Send me an email and look it up.
I think I already did, but anyway.
Oh, just, I don't remember seeing it, so,
Yeah.
I mean,
So they will present the draft plan, and hopefully either at that meeting or the next week can vote to accept it. Which, you know, does mitigate some of the risk.
tap CMAC?
TAP CMAC, if you were here 2 years ago, we applied for a TAP CMAC grant. It's an implementation grant to fill sidewalk gaps, provide safe routes to the Malta Avenue School and the area's recreation destinations, and to connect the Zim Smith Trail via Grove Street to downtown Ballston spot. So it's to do the whole loop, and also do sidewalks on East High, where it's very dangerous. Those were to the Malta and the East High end were two of the top rated needs for sidewalks. Since we, of course, did not get that award last time. Since then, we've completed the comprehensive plan, been granted a BOA nomination, and we're about to complete an ADA transition plan, all of which makes reapplying for this, I think, more attractive, and we've got a better chance this time around. So I have a motion later on suggesting, since I'm leaving this post at the end of the year, is to have a consultant take the last grant application, update it with new pricing, et cetera, which is needed, and, you know, submit it. The pre-application date, where we want to at least give them as much as we can, is November 28th. That's why I'm putting it on the agenda tonight, and the due date is January 9th.
So a couple things we spotted, and Carl and I had the conversation earlier today about this, because she can't remember where exactly we left this, but I remember the conversation with Laney over at VHB, and I think you were involved in some of that, was because ARCO puts the responsibility of sidewalk on the homeowner, and because if we are to do the sidewalk ourselves, we're supposed to charge back the homeowner. There's a question of whether that is considered a gift, because when you apply grant money to a specific homeowner that's in the possession of, the grant money is in the possession of the village, it could have indicated a gift or unfair treatment. And so Carla's going to look further into that, because what we were going to do with code change for the sidewalks back in April was actually explicitly state in the code that receipt of a grant and application of that grant money to a sidewalk would not be considered a gift in the case of the village doing so. That is not in the code, and so it is a question mark right now as to whether we can even accept that money to utilize it in that manner for somebody else's sidewalk ultimately.
Yeah, I think if there is something that prevents in our code, we need to change that, because don't
We
wanna
tried.
turn around, we don't want to turn away, grant money. And this grant won't be announced till spring, but I would like to move forward. The fee for G&G Consulting, which is the fellow that did our income survey, is very reasonable at max of $3,000. And he will update the whole grant, and it is a pretty complicated application. So it's not a small amount of work to get all the pieces together for this grant.
For
I
that,
have a few questions. So this is for 2024, right? And then, so who did the original grant application?
Basically, we did it based on the pedestrian and bicycle plan recommendations. We took the projects.
who put it together?
Yeah, who prepared it? And I didn't, okay. No, I'm just trying to get back because I don't
Yeah,
recall.
no,
this.
I mean, I wasn't the only one.
We're not casting shade by asking that. We're actually legitimately, we don't know who did it.
No, and so,
And I'm willing, of course, to work with them and, get the letters of support and all that stuff, because I think this is worth working on.
and then, so did we sit down with DOT to explain why we didn't, did they explain to us why we didn't get it?
No, I never did get back to them, but this pre-application will be essentially a similar session with them, where they'll point out any weaknesses they see. Their biggest concern is usually right of way. And if you can show that where you're planning on putting things is in the right of way.
Right.
Carla, you're busy in the next year or so.
Yeah.
Other questions, I'm sorry, I have a bunch of questions, this is helpful though. So we don't know why we didn't get the funding, in the engineering, we used, so that was the pedestrian and bicycle engineer, I can't remember who that was.
That was VHP.
Yeah,
VHP, thank you.
But we could use,
And-
as far as, providing information, G&G will work with,
So is that just for the pre-application only then, that cost
no, that's for the whole thing.
for the entire?
No, that's to submit it by January 9th.
Could we maybe look at other costs, other potential people to do it?
There's not any, really the time to do it. In essence, it's going to be, myself and anyone else who wants to work on it, working with this consultant, and he's gonna get the updated costs, which I asked VHB for last time. So, that is the major update, and then, critique the text, et
We've never
cetera.
done grant work for us for the village. She did a survey, correct, but not grant work.
But his background, he's done TAP grants, he's done a whole bunch of grants.
How many grants? I'm sorry.
Julie Berlin.
Yeah, she was able to get us a few grants, correct?
Two definitely, and I know the EFG.
I'd like to maybe like get info from Julie to see if is she familiar with this type of grant? She's already been successful for us. Not to say that this individual isn't, but she's already done work for us that has shown results. So if you were to,
Specializes more in fire.
No, she does.
she does all like
Yeah, like,
all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Has she
As far as I'm
done
aware.
TAP CMA?
Well, that's what I'd like to ask.
Transportation.
Infrastructure, we've had discussions actually about this before. There we go.
Well, the thing is the time, because it needs to get started now.
We could do an open-ended motion later on with a not to exceed and informal consensus allowing me to make the determination with input from the board informally, kind of like we had done previously with respect to the emergency authorization, which
This is an emergency.
no, it's not, but it's an example of what we did to do an open-ended approval like that. So that it buys us time, it doesn't require another formal board meeting, it just says that I will not exceed spending a blank. And also, just like the inspection for community, we just got the contract back actually, so now we have to schedule that. So,
Yeah.
that
I mean,
kind of approach.
I feel comfortable with Jay. I've never worked with Julie, except to, give her some information for the fire grants. I mean, for $3,000, it doesn't seem like, we need to make this a competitive bidding process.
No, it's a question of success, though, I think that you want to make sure you're gonna achieve, and she's succeeded where we failed in the past two times in a row in the whole
Well,
thing.
part of the reason it failed was the ask was much larger than the first two times.
Right, for this, grant, the
Fire grant,
oh, no.
for the fire grant. It
The
was,
CMAC.
no, CMAC, that's going to be whatever that project costs.
Okay, so when we get to that part in the motion, so we'll figure out how to pump that appropriately, I guess. Committee operations and new business, Ben?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the sidewalk law that we had last spring, and I don't see anything about grants.
No, that needed to be added, actually, we caught it after the fact, so
It
needed
was
one more
not added
revision.
yet, and
Yeah.
of course, that would be a huge vulnerability or liability to the current system if we couldn't actually get grants to apply to sidewalks, because it's the private property owners, so hopefully there's some way to remedy that if we don't go to village being responsible, because that's a big argument for making the village responsible. There's millions of dollars of grants out there.
Don't shoot the messenger on that one, we figured it out after the fact, after the TAP CMAC was already applied for, we're like, wait a minute, can we even do this? So.
Right, I know, and it was never resolved.
I know.
I think we talked about it at the public meeting, but then, or at the Holy Thursday meeting. But then we never actually did anything more with it because the whole idea changed.
Moving
There's a
along,
lot of history.
committee operations, let's keep moving.
All right, committee operations. I just want to clarify a few things for committee members and the public. I've been attending a number of committee meetings lately. Many committee members are on committees for the first time, which is fantastic, but it means they might be unclear about how the committee should operate properly. So I thought I'd review a few things, and other trustees can chime in as they see fit. First, I've heard committee members say their committee can do anything and operate any way it wants, and that's not really true. Committees have charters passed by the village board that describe the committee's purpose and operational procedures, and they cannot just be ignored. In addition, the village board expects committees to move forward expeditiously and not delay or digress in ways that have not been approved by the village board. Second, I've heard that village trustees are not supposed to communicate with committee members between meetings, and that is also untrue. Trustees and committee members can communicate with anyone they want at any time. Third, the committees are comprised of specific appointees. It should be clear in committee operations who is on the committee and who is a guest or volunteer when it comes to voting and ongoing participation. Four, committee chairs and committee members themselves should stay vigilant about any conflicts of interest among members and recuse themselves as needed. For example, if there's an active developer working in Ballston Spa on the zoning advisory committee, that person should recuse themselves for those zoning issues that impact their business. It's just something to be aware of. Fifth, most committee meetings should end with opportunity for public input, and this has not always been the case, but it's a good practice. So last but not least, I want to thank committee members for their indispensable work that you perform for the village. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you. I hope these reminders are helpful.
Okay, draft financial disclosure form.
All right. So I have, I don't know if you have it in front of you. Sent this don't know, Wednesday or something. 11/8. Thanks for putting it in the attachments. So again, it's a first draft, and whenever I send drafts out, there's laws or materials, it's always, I'm hoping and inviting everyone to provide feedback as needed. So any comments on this in terms of edits?
Honestly, Ben, I don't think anybody is really had enough time. We went on the newsletter and we've been trying to handle other things. I haven't actually had a chance to look throughout this completely, so I think we should just retire it to email. I don't see anything horrible about it, and I think you said you'd follow basically the code
Right.
subsection, so let's just make sure that nobody has any last things. We can go to approve it in the next meeting if there's nothing else at that point. So that we're ignoring you on this.
We can't approve it until the code is actually
Yeah.
in place, and as of today, the code is still not been filed. So this can't be approved because you have it per village code. So it can't be approved until.
All right, so hopefully maybe by next meeting. So do we know when this was actually filed, Terry, with the Department of State?
It was a couple of days after the meeting.
Yeah, I want to say it was, yeah.
I have.
Maybe
have a
Thursday at
picture.
the worst that week, something like
Yeah, I
that.
don't remember
Yeah.
off the top of
All
my
right.
head. I'll take a picture of the envelope.
All right, so we'll revisit next meeting, maybe, but thanks for, so before we have to pass it, obviously give me some feedback, whatever you think, in terms of wording. I tried to keep it to the language of the law, basically. There's an intro that comes basically from the law in terms of, when it has to be filled out, what the definition of family member is. And instead of saying, it's sometimes put in the word your or you instead of maybe the third person. So just a little thing, but thanks for looking at that. Moving on.
Go ahead.
Newsletter. So thank you, Frank and Liz, for getting back to me with comments. I don't know if Sean or Bernadette, they have some. Well, I was hoping to approve it tonight. So do you have things you want to say?
You wanted to
at
approve
this
it tonight?
meeting?
No, why are you in such a rush?
I gave this to everybody 2 weeks ago. I've asked 4 times for feedback. It's not a rush. It's just doing it. So I think at this point, if you have any comments, you can share them now at this meeting. I'd like to approve this so that we can distribute it. I've said that several times prior to this meeting. I'd like feedback so we can approve it at this meeting. That was the whole plan. So I'm hoping we can continue with that plan.
I mean, I quickly reviewed it. I didn't see anything that popped out of there, so. I'm sorry.
I incorporated all of Frank's comments and Liz's. Sean's fine with it. I'm fine with it, with the changes put in there. So I'd like us to say that this is fine to then move forward with the next step of having it delivered to people.
Okay, let's do this. Let's move to public comment. If Bernadette wants to give any additional comments, she can attempt to get them to you. When we reach the point in the meeting, we'll go there. I'm going sans mic here, but we moved that purposely. We're gonna go to public comment at this point. 5 minutes for anybody that wants to give public comment. Remember, respect and name calling. Please do not do the name calling. And if you are on Zoom, this would be the right time to raise your hand on Zoom to speak, as we have a limited crowd here tonight in the audience. So this could go quick in the audience. Hint, hint. No, just kidding, guys. Anybody in the audience want to go ahead and speak? Anna, go ahead. Not sure how that microphone's gonna work, but go ahead and try it. That was Ben Baskin.
Right. Anna Stanko, 32 Kent Street. Let me help you.
Thank you, Anna.
What's happening? It's falling apart over here.
Drop my card.
Don't use my time.
Yeah, I'm sorry, your time's up.
Okay. Sidewalks. I'm gonna hit this again because I've said it several times and nobody seems to be addressing this issue. Well over a decade ago, before any of you were on the board or probably even ever thought of running for the board, Mayor Romano appointed a committee to look into sidewalks. The biggest issue at that point was the sidewalks on Route 50 in front of the White House, etc. The big issue was their New York State DOT trees. Pete Champagne has talked to them years ago. They don't care about their trees. I don't understand why we're moving and moving and moving to this street and this street and this street instead of taking care of the biggest issue there is in the village, which is right on Route 50. Sean, I would think maybe you had a little pull down there. You could talk to somebody and find out whether we can cut the damn trees down or not. Fix them. I mean, those are the biggest issues. We have orange paint on the sidewalks down there to warn everybody. Well, if that's not a lawsuit to happen, I don't know what it is, you know, come on. You're talking about these other streets. I don't know who brought it up about the hills. Have any of you actually driven around the village? North High Street, Union Street, Hannum Street, Division Street, Middle Street? Who's gonna survey these properties to find out where the right of way is? We do not have maps for those, just so you all know. Nobody knows where the right of ways are. There's going to have to be surveys to lay out sidewalks on some of these streets. Who's paying for that? On streets like Pleasant Street, Mechanic Street, and some of the others, there are trees that lie between the road and the sidewalk, those that are causing the issues. Those are village trees. Who's gonna pay to have all those trees tore down or cut down? My son does that, just in case you wanna. I'll put that in my disclosure statement though for you.
Someone for Jake in to do that work.
Let's start with something simple. We've been talking about this damn sidewalk thing for months and months and months. And still, and I am saying this is well over a decade, it was Michelle Burlingame, Stacy from BSBPA, Tina Mangino, and myself and someone else that were on this committee, and that still has not been taken care of. Why don't you work on what's right in front of your face? And then we'll worry about the other issues and where we have gaps and where we have this. Who's going, what about the corner down there, Ballston Ave and Route 67? You're gonna put a sidewalk up on Dick Fox's property where he's got a new subdivision? Come on, people, use a little common sense in your thinking here. One thing at a time. Fix the problem that's right there in front of everybody's face where everybody walks and more pedestrians walk every day than on Hannum Street or Malta Avenue or whatever, Ballston Avenue. Fix the problems that are there. Work on it. Sean, reach out to your damn contacts down there. That's what you got them for. Tear the trees down. Somebody call Pete Champagne. He's already dealt with DOT up in Saratoga, probably 10 years ago. I see Joanne's on there. She's probably hearing me and telling me that I'm throwing them up at the bus. Just take care of the problems that are in front of your face instead of worrying about all these other issues and trying to tax people. That was last week. Today it's not. We're not taxing people. You got my head spinning. I don't want to pay a tax. I spent almost $10,000 on our sidewalks. I'm sorry, I don't want to pay for yours, Ben, or yours, Sean, or Bernadette's, or Liz's. I paid for mine. Thank you.
Yeah, one thing I want to raise is town of Ballston was in this conundrum with respect to Ballston Avenue. The idea after the second student got hit on Ballston Avenue crossing, there was a demand, hey, we need to get a sidewalk on the other side of Ballston Avenue. And there was an impossibility because there are trees and drainage structures throughout that side of the street that would make it virtually impossible. Plus land control would be a question as well. Luckily, after we talked all amongst ourselves, Eric Connolly, the supervisor, had gone after the property owners, and some of you read, of the bank and the orthodontists land there, and they're granting easement and then allow property owners on the other side on Route 50 are going to allow a continuation of sidewalk that's going on from B corners down. I'm not sure how they're going to handle the berm area between where Rossi had put in the sidewalk up to via Rossi Way, but there's going to be some continuation of sidewalk. But the long story short of this goes, municipalities realize at certain points that sidewalks everywhere is truly an impossibility, financially and feasibly. And there's creativity that can occur in a case, an emergency case like what they're facing up there. And I'm glad that we're able to work together, the school district, the town, and the village, just from behind, to get a result like that. But again, you can't assume you're gonna get to put a sidewalk everywhere, even where it's flat, because you just don't control it, or there's too many things already going on in that right of way that you can't move or fix. Well, if Sean doesn't want to talk about it, he doesn't have to talk about that. I mean, but it's the question.
I mean, I can talk about it, but.
I just wish we'd wait until after the comments and then give our.
Sure,
response.
sure, I can wait.
Let people talk and then we'll answer the question. That's the way it's supposed to go. Unless you want to change the procedure.
Anyway, anybody else in the house? Ray Otten?
No, I don't know.
She wanted to push you, I think.
I made right things. Ray Otten, 16 Millbrook Avenue, as was so noted in all the other meetings. I was at the ADA meeting. I evidently am still involved with that committee, so.
Thank you.
They were asked to change the date of the next meeting. They were not, as was said, oh, they wanted to present at the next meeting. They wanted to present a little later, but they were asked to move it up. Am I wrong?
You were wrong.
I am wrong. They suggested that they move it up to the 11th. I mean, just, yeah, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Yeah, they indicated that due to grant constraints, the grant is ending, they need to finish everything up this year. So they'd
Right.
like to present at the next meeting, and hopefully have us approved within the year of 2023.
Okay, so you didn't, or Liz didn't suggest that they move the meeting up to next meeting? Yes or no?
We may have suggested that would have.
That did happen.
No, move it up to.
Make it sooner. Okay, I just wanted to get that clear.
Yeah.
They did not request it.
No, they do want a presentation,
They,
and we may have pointed out, in order to do the presentation and then approve the plan, you may want to do it at the next meeting. That could have happened. I don't remember exactly.
I do.
But
It did happen that way.
their
Okay,
timing is they need to finish in 2023.
correct.
Ray, you have 4:30 left, so that didn't count against you.
Yeah. Also at that meeting with the big map that was there, it was pointed out the area of greatest need in this village is the north end. Okay, it's not the business district. It's not High Boulevard. It's not any other place. It's the north end. You look at the north end, all they had was red and orange. Okay, which I guess is the indicator for ones and twos or whatever the numbers are. It was the north end. And is that going to be where we're going to concentrate the efforts? Is that going to be the priority? And speaking of the priority, the survey that was put out was changed from what Labella had put out. It's different wording, it's different classifications of sidewalks, etc.
Wait. That's confusing to me because I was basically, and Jennifer was first asked without going through me, but whatever. But I was basically excoriated for not pushing it out right away because I said, what is this survey? It makes no sense the way it was worded and aimed. And I was told this was Labella's survey. You're telling me Labella's survey was altered by,
It was different
by
than what was put out.
who made the
All right,
change?
well, I can explain if you'd like, or do you want to explain first?
No, I don't want to explain because I don't know.
You were there.
I don't know why it was changed.
You were there when it was changed as a group. As the group had a conversation, and Liz and Sean were there. You can remember on your own. But there were certain categories that not make specific sense for this community, such as they broke out neighborhoods by different category. We just simplified that to neighborhoods. Oh, they had health facilities as a category, and we don't really have health
Which we
facilities.
didn't have.
So that was taken. So that was the conversation. Was their survey was presented without necessarily tailored to the village. And once people saw that, they said, oh, can you tweak this or that in a way that makes sense for the village? And so they took that. It's not as if someone changed it behind their backs or away from them. That was part of the process to make it a better survey.
Okay.
Frank, you mentioned voting districts and it was changed. One of the things that I ran into, and anybody that was in that area of the village, we were always in District 11 for any voting that we did. On the map that was at the senior center, we were still listed as District 11.
Even though you're 4?
Even though we were 4, there was no indication on a map that that was changed in any way. So if that could be fixed, it would cause a lot less confusion.
I've raised it to their attention.
You did, okay.
Several times. But yes, I'm sorry that it happened, but
But it
we'll
was,
remind
it was
them.
just a back and forth type thing, and they didn't have an updated map, I guess, was what should have happened.
How many people did you run over in the back and forth?
Oh, I was walking with crutches, so it was
Okay.
a bit of a strain, but
That would
that's
have been
all
more fun to watch.
right. Yeah, it would have been. I also wanted to talk about the Thanksgiving meal that's coming up on Thanksgiving. We're looking for folks to help us out, both the night before and the day of, and especially at the end, when we're cleaning up. That's the hardest thing to get people to come for. They want to come and deliver and then see you later. And then we're left with all this stuff to clean up. So if you have the ability to come, say from 2 o'clock to 4 in the afternoon, come on down, we can use your help. We can also use help with any donations that are there. And I would like the board to consider for next year that being this is a totally public event for the benefit of the village, that maybe the village looks at putting some money into it. It doesn't have to be a lot, but it would be very helpful to the folks that are doing this function to get some assistance from the village itself. A stipend of some sort would be well considered. And the last thing I wanted to talk about had what I did as part of the committee. I went around to the different restaurants and asked them, instead of giving us a monetary donation, can you cook us a turkey? And we got, how many, Mary? 14, 15? 15 turkeys being donated by the local restaurants.
Cooked already?
Already cooked. I'm picking them up on Monday and Tuesday. I'm not sure what we're gonna do with them because Union Firehouse has got a bad refrigerator. And I don't know if you guys know that.
No.
They need some help with the refrigerator to replace it. But we're gonna work it out. But the local community is donating 15 turkeys to us. Yay us, it's amazing. Turkeys or turkey breasts, depending on what restaurant it is. In my process of doing that, I was at Henry's, and I got talking with a couple that were sitting outside, and they were from Vermont. And we got talking, and imagine me talking to strangers and talking about our village, and they were just fascinated with the village. They love the village. They said they wish where they live up in Vermont would be like this. And one of the things they were asking for, do you have any sort of handouts or anything that we could see where we can go? And, because I told them about Brookside Museum, they were looking for maybe a trail or a park to take their dog to. So I was telling them about Tedesco Trail, about the dog park down in Kelly Park.
Right, there is a BSBPA map guide. I believe they're at the museum. They are at several locations of the village. The village
Are they?
office, yeah.
Most businesses have them.
Yeah,
If I may make a suggestion,
I can give you some if you want to be the person. That
a wonderful place would be at that new sign,
Oh, the new bulletin board?
the new bulletin board. If we could somehow put a
Brochure
a
holder.
door brochure over there, so that people looking on that to see what's going on could maybe get a brochure. Because honestly, I thought about the Bottom Museum, but I didn't know if it was open or not at the time, and that. And I told them that was another place I could go to. So just to help people that are from out of town, they were excited, especially when they had their little dog with them and they could take him somewhere.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kate Van Buren, are you back there?
She is. I saw her.
Kate, do you still need help with the LifeWorks Thanksgiving project you've got? Yes, please do, because I owe you a post. I know if you do still need that. I've just been trying to space things out appropriately.
Oh, you do? Oh, I love her. I love having neighbors like her.
Kate Van Buren,
Raise that just a little bit for yourself. Yep, there you go.
Kate Van Buren, 105 South.
Ray, LifeWorks has lots of refrigeration, especially on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. And so if you need, because I get a truck I get a truck Wednesday afternoon, so as long as you want back, I think I can provide refrigeration.
We got a
for
meeting on Thursday, so.
up to 15, probably chickens. Frank, your question was, do I need more help on Saturday, November the 18th?
Correct.
No, I have 190 something drivers.
That's awesome.
And 70 boots on the ground up at the fairground. So public announcement, LifeWorks Community Action has a big Thanksgiving project. We distribute to 1,500 families around the county. And this year, most of those are by delivery. And so we've recruited, thanks to a lot of people who have 270 to be exact, donated their time on Saturday morning to help us either deliver those Thanksgiving baskets, their groceries, to folks in need around the county. And then some folks who are, as I say, boots on the ground. And thanks to the fairground folks who are providing the building and the space, because it takes all big space to put 250 cars through in a day. I will say that another hat, since I'm standing here at the microphone, I'm also on the arts committee. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Shameless perch. We have a concert on Saturday, also the 18th at 3 o'clock at Brookside. It's a classical wind string quartet. So it would be nice to see y'all in the long room at Brookside. Question?
Great job.
You're awesome. For those that don't know, Kate does so much and doesn't have any fanfare with what she does. So I'm glad she got to talk and show her face to folks. Actually, I probably should make sure we can show faces here. Nobody picks up out, yeah. Okay, Kate, stand up for a second. Wait. Everybody knows who Ray is. Everybody knows who he is. He's awesome. Thank you, Kate. And Anna's sitting, shaking her head right now, and Ray is next to her in case you didn't know who they were. They were the preceding talkers. Who else we have in the house? Mike.
Thank you. Mike Ikalucci, 9 Russell Street. Good evening. Over the last year and a half, I and others have cautioned against governing through social media. The mayor clearly feels that using social media to communicate is effective for him. I do not engage in social media, but I have to respond now to 2 issues that have come up over the past 3 weeks. The mayor and I had a conversation about 3 weeks ago in the village hall. While we disagreed on many points in that conversation, each of us acknowledged respect for the other, and I thought agreed to continue to treat each other with respect. However, the mayor then proceeded to misrepresent on social media both my demeanor and the things that I had said in our conversation. I am not going to rebut his misleading comments point by point because the issue does not affect the community as a whole. But I will address in some detail a post that the mayor placed on social media on the morning of election day. That post was in response to an email that the mayor received from Trustee Ballston. The email described a possible approach to funding the cost of repairing and maintaining sidewalks. The mayor headlined his post in the following way, all caps, quote, "This morning, a 15% plus sidewalk tax was proposed," unquote. Let me first say that nowhere in the proposal did Trustee Ballston propose raising taxes. Let me repeat that. Trustee Baskin's proposal did not in any way discuss raising taxes. The mayor wrote in his post, quote, "We would currently have to replace between $285,000 and $310,000 of tax revenue, resulting in, at minimum, an over 15% property tax increase." I understand how the mayor arrived at the amount of property tax increase needed to replace the dollar amount that he chose to illustrate. Everyone should understand that the proposal from Trustee Ballston suggested using money from the fund balance, which has grown over the past few years and arguably is at the upper end of a range that is considered, that is recommended by the Office of the State Comptroller. If money from the fund balance were to be used for the benefit of the community, it would not necessarily need to be replaced. It certainly would not necessarily need to be replaced immediately. I am sure the mayor understands this. However, the mayor chose to make a political point on the morning of election day by claiming that a trustee was asking for a 15% tax increase on residents. That claim is false. To me, this post by the mayor is a good example of the dangers of trying to govern through social media. All he accomplished by making a false claim was to rile people up and get their minds set on the idea that a Democratic trustee was going to raise their taxes by 15%. Common decency suggests that the mayor publicly correct his false claim about what he called a tax increase proposal. Instead of firing up people's emotions, I think it would be much better to encourage a civil discussion of all the factors that affect the decision on how to handle sidewalks in the village. Making false claims on social media does not promote civil discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. So, yeah, well done, except for one glaring error. $1.7 million for a water tower, $1.2 million for DPW equipment, $900,000 upcoming for a fire truck, $1.9 million upcoming for a fire engine, $50+ million over 30 years for water and sewer replacement, including $18 million over the next 10 years. So you can say in a vacuum, oh, we could just take it out of fund balance, except we're taking everything else out of fund balance. So tell me how the $4 million, which includes $300,000 of ARPA money, $200,000 of fire funds that need to be put in a lockbox, and other things that are going on, as you can see, with debt outstanding that we have to protect against. Tell me where it's all going to come from. Or are we going to spend money that is in a fund balance that's intended to protect us in long-term debt, because we're going to face $1 million of debt payments a year at this pace and not be able to pay for them?
Are you asking me for a response?
More or less is rhetorical right now, because nobody seems to be embracing the fact that we have a financial issue in the offing if we're not careful. And so when I'm basically blamed for spending money like a drunken sailor, I'm going to sit here and tell you, actually, no, I'm protecting every dollar possible, because I understand what the implications of long-term debt are and how much long-term debt we have to face with millions and millions of dollars of infrastructure and equipment replacement and repair to go on in this village. So to simply wave your hand and say, no, let's just say $300,000, because that's what it is, $300,000, 5% of $6,200,000 is $310,000.
No, you're misrepresenting.
No,
what
it's
I
not.
was describing.
No,
That's
it's not.
Frank.
No, I'm not.
He was talking about the fund balance, not the total.
No, it was not. It was the general. No, it was not. It was the general fund. The general fund budget amount is $6.2 million.
The appropriations are that number. Ben knows that. He was.
Well, maybe you should write it better then, because
Frank, you can disagree with.
Carl, what did we?
Let me say something.
No, hold on. Hold on.
When am I?
Excuse me,
All
for
right,
one
go
second.
ahead. And then I'll say something. Frank, I've got something for you.
Because Carla went and asked the question to the comptroller on the allocation of 5% of a budget by code. The assumption is it was the general fund budget. Is that not correct?
The law said general fund, it didn't say fund balance. So when I spoke to the comptroller, I asked them about codifying a 5% general fund expenditure. So whatever was intended, the law as written said general fund. So that's what I looked at.
Yeah,
I'm not taking sides, I'm just saying that's what it was.
The day after, what I said was, first of all, that I realized on my own that it's quite possible it should not be in the law itself. Secondly, I said it should be the unassigned fund balance. And, but more importantly,
you can disagree with the approach. You can believe that it's not a financially wise thing to do. You can say you disagree with funding sidewalks in this way. What you cannot do is say that I proposed a tax increase, because I did not do that. And I proposed using 5%, that leaves 95% of everything else. We're getting 4% interest. And you're right, it shouldn't be in the law, but I believe we can afford 5% toward a very high priority thing. I did not indicate anywhere that I was going to increase taxes. So you saying that is just unethical, incorrect, inaccurate, inflammatory, and I think just wrong.
So
So you can agree with my approach, but you cannot say that I proposed to increase taxes. That is false.
Walk me through something then. Because from what Mike's saying, you intended fund balance. What you're saying now, you intended fund balance. Okay, so how would this work? 5% is, let's say it's 4 million, just around figures for now.
Right.
It would be, excuse me, $200,000, correct? And so we spend the $200,000. So then next year, we're going to put 5% more in because we're obligated to keep it at 5%. So now it's $190,000 then next year. And then the next year, it's going to be 180 and change thousand dollars.
Balance has gone up by $1 million every year.
But you were assuming it's going to continue to do that.
We don't know.
Well,
you're right. It should not be in law, because there should be flexibility. Well, it's illegal. You can't put it in law, but there should be flexibility. But as long as our fund balance is high, which it is, and as long as it keeps going up, we can't afford 5% fund balance towards a very important priority, in my opinion. That's my opinion. And that means I am not saying we need to raise taxes. So your headline there. Now, this is a good conversation we're having, because this is the way things should get done. We should be able to talk. You know, you have numbers you want to share. I have my perspective. Others have. That's how we should negotiate a law.
What was your benefit assessment?
It shouldn't be done with these inflammatory, fear-mongering, unethical statements on Facebook.
How much was your benefit assessment supposed to get?
Just slams down
How
the
much?
conversation.
How much was your benefit assessment supposed to get?
250,000 a year.
Correct, plus the 50,000 that you assume was already in the pool, it's 40 plus the 10, whatever. So basically, anybody reading that, which as Carlos suggested, the way it was worded was general fund, and 5% of $6.2 million is $310,000, which means the 255 plus the 50. So there is no reason to be confused even on our part. You were basically trying to get 310,000 in a way other than a benefit assessment at that point.
That morning, I said it probably should not go in the law. So you're talking about a moot point right now. It's the other thing I said was it should be the unassigned fund balance, not just the whole fund balance.
We're past old business friends. We are in public comment.
So
We can
anyway,
get back
this
to
kind of
this.
conversation is fine. It's fine to have a back and forth with to clarify our terms, to understand where the other one's coming from. What's not okay is to put words in someone else's mouth on Facebook. That is not okay.
Everybody made their piece. We are past old business. That was an old business. We were in public comment. Let's keep moving forward, please. There's someone with their hand up online.
Are we good in the audience?
I don't know. I'm not mayor. I'm sorry, Frank. You direct. Let's move forward.
What did she just say?
That better be better as mayor.
Yeah, because she's getting the meeting
Never heard
back
that,
in
sorry.
order. That's why.
Jared Ikalucci, 24 Chapman Street. I'll just be brief on the sidewalk point here. I think the points raised by Trustee Baskin hold a lot of merit in sharing the cost among our village and our community. The two issues, as I see it with the sidewalks, are funding and enforcement. And in our current state, we lack enforcement. Even if we increase the amount we reimburse and institute a loan program, I fail to see where the enforcement kicks in as it's been described up to this point. On the loan, I have a couple of questions because we're talking a lot about cost and how much this might cost an individual to replace their sidewalk on their own versus a benefit assessment versus something coming from the fund balance. In a generous, I would say, appraisal of someone's sidewalk at this point is $7,000 for the average resident. $3,500 would be out of pocket, potentially reimbursed. $3,500 then would be a potential loan balance, which over the course of 15 years at an interest rate of 4% would come to a total of about $300 per year for that person to then be paying for their sidewalks.
How many years was that?
15 years, based on what you said earlier, I think, at a 4% rate. Now, I think the actual cost of a sidewalk for many people is likely increased beyond $7,000 at this point. So the actual amount a resident would pay needing to replace their own sidewalk, whether they paid it out of pocket upfront or over the course of a loan, would still be a significant amount. I also just want to ask a question. Mayor Rossi, you said that loans could be funded potentially need-based, and I'd be curious just to have a little bit more information about what that need-based means. Is there an income level, an income limit? And based on any research you've done, how many of our residents might apply for a need-based loan in that case? Thank you.
The state was 15 years to be need-based. You could probably get a 10-year as anybody, but if you need a longer period, that's what the need-based would be based on. That's at least what my concept would be, just to answer that. Okay. Okay, next up, anybody in the house? No, I can't read from here. Is that Kristen?
It's Kristen, yeah.
Okay. I Calucci number 3. Go right ahead.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? This is Kristen, 24 Chapman Street.
Yes.
So I just wanted to add my voice of support about doing something with our sidewalks. So a previous public commenter, said we should use common sense to fix the sidewalk problem, and I would generally agree with that. I'm failing to kind of understand why it wasn't done 10 years ago. I'm hearing because maybe there were trees in the way, there's surveys that we need to do, other municipalities don't do it, so why should we? I think we can all agree Ballston Spa is pretty unique, especially in our walkability. So just because other places don't take it on doesn't mean we shouldn't. I think, hearing we have funds that we can use, and I think we should use them for the greater good that we all would benefit from. And I think that sidewalks are infrastructure. I would want to see my tax dollars used to fix the sidewalks in our village. Everyone uses them. I think I said this last meeting too. I know a lot of young families that use sidewalks to get around, and our reputation is, oh, it's a great village, so cute, so charming. You have terrible sidewalks. I could never push my stroller. I can't get around. So, we have a reputation again about our sidewalks. We need to fix them. And I think that sidewalks are infrastructure. We know that our water fees will be used for water infrastructure if there's a water fund balance. So a lot of, the water needs that we need to fund will come from hopefully a water fund balance. Mayor Rossi, you listed a bunch of costs that, we as a village faced. I would argue that sidewalks are very important to the health of our village and should be considered in that long list of, upcoming costs that we need to weigh. I think, we're thinking about it in a way that it is a public good. We want our village to be healthy in attracting new residents, young families and professionals like myself, allowing our aging population to safely age in place, improving their mobility with ADA compliant sidewalks to better connect them to services in the village and transportation options that don't require a car. That's essential. Sidewalks make that essential. Also, we need to make sure that visitors continue to come to our village, walk our village, spend their money at our small businesses and at our restaurants. So again, I make the case, sidewalks are infrastructure and they deserve our investment. So I know a lot has changed in the last 10 years. I don't have to have lived here my entire life to know that our sidewalks are terrible and need significant investment. I don't think we can just sit and do nothing for the next 10 years and hope that some property owners will maybe be encouraged to install them piecemeal. And even with the loan option from the village or an increased reimbursement, we're still, again, putting that onus on property owners that may or may not be able to afford it at all. I still think that we could do that. We could increase investment, we could offer a loan program, and we could also use a percentage of our fund balance to invest in fixing those critical sidewalks that need repaired now without raising taxes. So all that seems pretty common sense to me. So I hope we can come to an agreement and do something now to fix our sidewalks. Thank you.
Moving along. Who else? Yes.
I'm gonna go.
I'm not paying attention because I'm trying to add up all the different things I have to
And I
spend money
really
on.
wish Trustee Cormos would stop the sideline commenting over there. It's very rude. Very rude. I know you only have 2 meetings left, but use a little decorum. So Ben, Gina Morosi, 10 Old Glory Lane. You just chastised the mayor for saying untrue, derogatory, inflammatory, blah, blah, blah statements, correct? I'm gonna read you something. Part of it. This is your letter to the editor. The current mayor is a major developer who tried to impose on the community traffic clogging, community damaging, Walmart-style development, not once, but twice. Are you a developer, Mayor Rossi?
I wish I was.
And you know he's not. You know he's not. I'm speaking.
Okay, you want me to respond later?
I'm speaking.
Sometimes you want me to respond right away.
I tell you what, I'll give you a sign. I might get kicked out for it, but I'll give you a sign.
Okay, just continue.
Where were you the first round of Walmart?
Last I checked in New York City,
Working for,
a law firm.
thank you. Did you have anything to do with the first round of Walmart?
You would have let me if I wanted to.
Exactly. Another lie. If you're gonna accuse somebody of doing something, Ben, don't do it yourself, okay? Those were lies to the public in the newspaper. Thank you.
Peter.
All right, so now I'll respond as we do.
No.
Let everybody finish.
Oh, we're not doing the respond right after the speaker thing?
Well,
anymore?
you can if you'd like. I mean,
Yeah, I would like to, actually.
I
if
think
that's
we
all
ought
right.
to have this straight. Either we wait and
Well,
then respond.
It seems to be
or
whenever the
respond to
spirit
question.
urges
I mean-
strikes us. So first of all, I was there for the first Walmart fight and Frank was there.
No, I was
he
not.
wasn't.
Yes, you were.
No,
No,
I was
he
not. I
wasn't.
never
Yes.
attended one meeting, Ben. Not one.
Not
Yes,
one.
you
Not
were.
one.
Not one.
You were, Frank, you were
Ben,
there.
I never attended a meeting once.
Yes, you did.
No, I did not.
All right. Secondly, so I guess we're gonna disagree on that. I'm sure we could look up the.
Yes, we
minutes.
can.
Secondly, to say you're not a developer or to say you are a developer is shorthand for saying your family is a big developer and you represent your family as their lawyer. So yes,
That's
that is-
not what you said.
yeah, because I'm doing an art, I didn't write out every detail in a short letter to the editor, there's a word limit. To say that Frank Rossi is a major developer, or a family member of a major developer is absolutely accurate. You are, your
That's
family,
not what it said.
your family is a major developer and you are their lawyer.
Not what it said.
Therefore, I feel perfectly fine saying you are a major developer.
So Carla is the counsel to the mayor, among the other things, for what she does. So Carla is the mayor of Ballston Spa. Congratulations.
Good for you. Yay.
You
We're
can-
going home.
You can try to sidestep your role in your family's business, but the
Sean
fact
agreed.
is, it's all over you. And that's how you, that is your business.
Inflammatory lying statements.
That's true.
Okay, now, enough.
That's not true.
Please.
Liz,
You come control me.
okay, enough of that. But Liz, seriously,
Right?
with Ben getting into it with her, at that point, you want me to do anything? My
Yeah.
God. Okay, who else? Peter, I think you want to get up.
Sorry, Pete.
Please address Mayor Bittner.
20 Chesterwood Court. I just want to mention LifeWorks. I'm sorry, what was your first name again?
Kate, thanks, Pete.
LifeWorks is a great
Your
organization.
dad is
My
awesome.
dad, he worked for LifeWorks. My dad worked for
It's my
LifeWorks.
butt, it's amazing.
He is, and he loved it, and you guys are such a great organization.
Address
Oh,
Mayor Bittner.
I'm sorry. I just might give them credit. Mr. Baskin, Trustee Baskin brought a good point up about the committees not being run right. I'm on the ethics committee. 4 or 5 times so far, we've had 2 trustees and a mayor of the committee. I don't know where we stand with open meetings law, like, are they allowed to talk? Is somebody supposed to leave? I don't mind them being at these meetings, they should be there if they want to be there, I guess. But then when a trustee starts talking, are we violating the open meetings law? So I don't know, Carly, you can clarify that at some point? Does that make?
Talking about the ethics committee?
No, I'm talking about.
You said ethics, but you meant.
I'm on the ethics committee, so I'm sitting there at these meetings, like I'm on the revenue advisory committee, I'm on the zoning advisory committee, and we have a couple of trustees, two of them, and we have the mayor there. So now we have a quorum of 3. And then when the trustee starts talking, to me, that's a violation of the open meetings law. I don't know if it is or not. I just don't want to sit there being uncomfortable. Last meeting, I didn't say a word because I felt funny not saying anything. So if you can clarify that when we're done, that'd be great. Sidewalks, we're all over the place with these sidewalks, and I don't think your meeting's gonna solve anything. I really think you need to get 10 to 12 smart people together, come up with a good proposal, and let's get this done the right way. I really think, I don't think your meetings, we're all over the place, because when I left here last time, what I understood for sidewalks, and I told people this about the sidewalks, what your proposal was $50, $100, and $1 per linear footage. So like somebody on a quarter lot, I told them, you know, it's gonna be $400 you're gonna get charged, and they flipped out. Because that's, well, there's 200 linear footage on both, on these corner lots. So I thought that was the last thing. I had no idea that now it changed to something else. I don't do social media, so I didn't see this other thing. I'm running out of time.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
I approved it. You're fine.
Okay, so I think we really need to get a bunch of people in a room and let's figure this thing out, because we all want better sidewalks, but what's happening here is not getting solved the right way. And talking about sidewalks, Anna mentioned 67 and Ballston Ave. I can tell you the planning board knows how important these sidewalks are. That property is for sale now. It will not be sold unless there's sidewalks put in to that property. So Anna, we are on top of that on the planning board. So we know how important that is. And the last thing I want to bring up, there was a letter to the editor about Mary Bush and my daughter, my stepdaughter Bernadette Mendanza, calling him a name that just, I'm not even going to repeat it because I'm not going to condone it. And it was written by Trustee Raymond, and I was more hurt and disappointed that you wrote that. And you said that about him. I'm thinking maybe you didn't read the letter and you just signed it. That's what I'm hoping. I don't know if that's true or not. That's not you. And I tell you, every time I ran into your sons, I showed them the most respect at those games. I'd say hello to them. I felt more hurt. I couldn't believe you said that about them. And if you look up, my phone blew up when that came out and I didn't know it. And if you look up the meaning of what the word is, what some of the people told me what it meant, it just, not them. They do so much good for the community. I'm not trying to embarrass you, Sean. I just don't think you read it before you signed. I'm hoping that's the case. I've signed things that I haven't read. If that's the case, maybe you can say something that you're sorry to them. I don't really think you meant that. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna be taking over for Jen, who's got to leave, and I think I have this up here correctly. It's a lot of talk, right? This is one we go after.
And then you remove it when.
Yeah, I got another Michael Ipalucci, Mike. I'm gonna assume Martha.
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll put her up. And
yep, Martha Icalucci, 9 Russell Street, Ballston Spa. 2 quick things. Number 1, is there any way there could be a referendum in the village? Ask all the village citizens how they feel about the sidewalks. It just makes sense to me that if we want to hear what the residents want, they ask the residents. The second thing is I want to let Ray Otten know I am an election inspector at the Milton Community Center. The map that we are given by the town of Milton is the map that you saw there. We have had the same map for 20 years. Nothing has been updated on it. I put a little note next to it on Tuesday that said, this map does not reflect the new village districts, but that's all I could give. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Martha, I think we all need to work together. Like I said, I'm done with elections as far as I'm concerned here, but we all need to work together to figure out how to help this county get this right, because it was glaring and it was people on all sides of the aisle that were getting affected and disaffected by this. And so we really do need to work together on this one, I think, without without any fail on this, I think.
Yes, I agree.
Thank you.
You.
Got it. Let me just see if I get this right. Remove sounds like I'm gonna take her out of the entire thing. Okay, that worked. Sorry. Keith. Is talking permitted? I think that means you're good to go.
Keith Lewis, 38 East High Street. I know that we get exhausted probably hearing from me on Facebook, but since this was brought up once again, I think it's important to note several things. One, we really don't have paper. We don't have a local media outlet that's covering news. So we have incorporated social media into staying informed. And Frank, you've used your official site to distribute information about safety and traffic, about accidents, about danger, about snowfall, about things of importance for everyone in the village. And you've become the portal for information. So we've suggested a number of times in writing and verbally, multiple people, including the previous mayor, that the village website should in fact be used. That has not been done. Your official page is where we have to go in order to get information. And by doing that, you have created a following that is standing by the information and believing it, because much of the information you give is unbiased and factual because it's about safety and traffic. But when you then change hats and take advantage of your fellow trustees, fellow public servants, to misrepresent what they say. And certainly I heard your raised voice. I heard the way that you played with the numbers. I heard you screaming about how it was going to have to be done. I heard you yelling about all the money that needs to be spent. I didn't hear any of that a number of years ago when we had no financials filed, when we had no fund balance whatsoever. It is the majority that came in 2019 that began putting away the money that we have, every dime of it. We've had the least increase during your period over the course of all of that time. So I agree, we have lots of things to pay for, but we do have priorities to set. And we do have representation that needs to be accurate. And you misrepresented the information. And I think that that's a political move, and that's fine, but own up to it. It was a political move. Ben should have thought, he's going to manipulate this. I shouldn't send this because he's going to misrepresent it, because that's what you did. And frankly, excuse the pun, I feel that the people that need the apology are really Mary Price Bush and Bernadette. And the reason for it is because if you had more faith in your running mates, if you believed in their skills and their talents and their hard work, which we have seen, you wouldn't have lowered yourself to that level and wrote that long dissertation that was a misrepresentation that then your followers, and if you read the shares, they all shared it, saying, go out, vote, get rid of these people, put these people in office. And I thought to myself, if I were them, I would be so insulted that he did that. And instead of really standing up for me and standing up for my capabilities, he lowered himself down to manipulate another trustee, gosh, I'm gonna have to watch my back. Because if they disagree with you, I have a feeling they will end up on that same side. And that's what's unfortunate. Because people in that role so that they can all have differing views, bring them together, and come to an area where people are enhanced by the different opinions.
5 minutes, Keith.
That's it.
Thank you. Sorry. Hold on. Jeremy Beard, 1 second, Jeremy. I will get you in here. Jeremy, you should be able to unmute and go ahead.
Thank you. Jeremy Baird, 3 Maple Avenue. I honestly believe that the people who come to board meetings, as well as the trustees, have a desire to make the village a better place to live and work. However, as I've said before and others have said many times, coming to board meetings is a ridiculous sham. It's like 7th grade all over again. I'm very disappointed. Procedures are not followed. The agenda is not followed. It's a chaos every board meeting. Some board meetings that are quick, there's a joke about how long, we're done in 20 minutes. We're not 3 hours. We all have fun with that, but it's also very sad. I encourage, as we move into the new year with a new board, that all board members take advantage of the training that's available from the various associations that represent villages, and that our board meetings become productive and respectful of each other, respectful of the community. Because at the end of the day, I think everyone truly wants the village to be a better place. Coming to these meetings is like 7th grade, and that's unacceptable. Thank you.
Thank you. I know somebody just fell off that wanted to comment. I'm not sure if they're going to be back or not. 1 second here. Lisa, in the meantime?
There it is.
Oh. Hold on 1 second. We got Lisa on queue. I was just asking you because I saw you fall off. You were on there for a while.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, got it. Lisa, go ahead now, I think. Sorry about that.
Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Right, so, nothing.
Name your address, don't forget, please.
Lisa Spidell, 106 Prospect Street. The fire whistle, something that's been a routine in my life for more years than I care to mention, has been missing. And I'm kind of confused. I've been asking the question since March. We're waiting on a part, is what I was told. Can we have more specifics at this point as to what's wrong, what's broken, how long it takes to part to come in, what was ordered when, or is this never coming back? That's all.
Determined to be a full replacement necessary and not a cheap number. So we've got to figure out with the fire department what they want to do. Currently, they are leaning toward not wanting to replace it, I think, but we're going to continue that discussion.
Well, I think that's something that it just kind of dropped off, and there's been no discussion. And in my opinion, as somebody, routine is important in life. And if you look up routine, people that have dementia, Alzheimer's, that type of thing, you rely on stuff, and that's something that's been in people's lives forever, and it's missing. And that's something that everybody in the village can share, and now it's gone. And it does work sometimes, so it's not totally broken. So I'm kind of confused that no discussion's kind of been had with this whole thing. But thank you.
I tend to defer to the fire department on their necessity or need for it, and so that's why you're not hearing public discussion. I've been talking to Mike Bayshore, Chief Bayshore, behind the scenes on that one, and I mean, it's one of those scenarios that if we want to do it, we're gonna have to spend village money on it ultimately, and we'll make that determination at a certain point. But the fire department is not looking to necessarily reinvest in the entirety of that horn whistle, whatever you want to call it. So,
So basically,
I will repress the issue with, you know. Sorry, Lisa, go ahead.
Nope, thank you. Have a good night.
You got it. Bob, did you want to? Yeah, please.
All right, Bob Ross, 71 Church Ave. The last 20 minutes, I've listened to shots being fired on both sides, back and forth, which is ridiculous. It shouldn't happen in this meeting. That's not what this meeting's about. But enough of that crap, it happens at every meeting. I'm going to comment on the sidewalk proposal. Jared, I agree with you. There's two aspects. There's financial aspect and there's the enforcement aspect. Right now, we have the financial aspect we do have in some form. The enforcement doesn't happen. It hasn't happened. I'm 49 years old. It hasn't happened for 49 years. You said I shouldn't have to pay for a sidewalk that someone hasn't fixed in 40 years. There has to be some solution. What that solution is, I don't know. I'm not on the board. It's not my job to figure that out. It's your guys' job. It's my job to listen and do what I'm doing right now. Voice my opinion. It's good to hear we got talks going, but why haven't these talks been happening over the last 2-3 years when the first proposal was submitted? I think that was 2.5 years ago, roughly. And then the ball got dropped and suddenly came back, and now we want to suddenly push this along. I don't understand why the urgency didn't happen then and it's happening now. Sidewalks do need to be figured out. It's your guys' job to do it. We're a walkable community and it needs to be figured out soon, not 10 years from now, 20 years from now. I know in comprehensive plan, we mentioned that several times, I believe. But I think the enforcement part, you guys can change all the laws we have here, but until you have an enforcement in place, those laws don't mean anything. Seriously, because you guys change laws. I don't know how many laws you guys changed in the last year. And once you enforce them, they're just written on a piece of paper, and who gives a rat for two? What the hell they are? People are gonna do what they want. So until you guys figure out the enforcement aspect, it's just written on paper and it doesn't matter.
You know, Mayor Steve from Cortland, I said it when I posted about it, but I think it's worth stating again, gave me the intuition of don't hand your residents a problem without handing them a solution to that problem. And I think that's where you can't do enforcement until you have a solution that gives them the ability to handle that solution and that problem. And it was about sidewalks. And in fact, his approach is carried over now to sewer and water connections and some of the things that residents have to take care of with respect to those, because it was so successful down there that they're doing it for other things beyond just sidewalks as well, the loan program and the reimbursement program that they're using. And he lives by it, a very smart businessman. He is before doing this, and he actually looked at the whole idea of taking it on fully as a city in that case. You know, we were doing the village, and he said it just made zero sense, and that ultimately people want to be in compliance is what he's seen over his time, about 2 years as mayor. And congratulations to him on his reelection. But, you know, again, you can't hand them a problem without the solution to go with it to solve that problem. And I thought that was very sage advice, ultimately. So thank you, Bob. Anybody else in the house? Anybody else on Zoom? Board response?
I'd like to, I'd like to respond on the village trees. We actually have a budget for that. So there's no reason why the trees on Milton Avenue can't start to be addressed with that budget. We have a budget. We said that we will take over the trees, take care of the trees. So
$10,000, right?
well, like
$10,000 is the budget?
no, the budget was larger than that, wasn't it?
No, it was 40,000 for sidewalks, 10,000 for the trees.
Okay, well, we need a larger budget for the trees. or an assessment or some way to pay for all of this. So I just wanted to say there is budget, and the village has taken on the, responsibility of dealing with our trees, even if they were put in by somebody else 30 years ago and they didn't pick the right kind of trees. So, but slowly trees are getting, taken care of, but not very quickly. Mr. Otten's ADA comments, the reason that November 27th was picked because the grant ends at the end of the year, and we only have one more meeting after that. They're gonna present their results, and then we need to accept their plan and finalize the grant. So that's why that happened. As far as your comments about the north end, yeah, the north end does have more sidewalks that are not in good condition. Location of non-compliant sidewalks is one factor. It could be a non-compliant sidewalk on the street where hardly anybody goes. Are you gonna pick that one first, or are you gonna pick the one downtown? Or the one in front of the school? So those factors do come into play. If you look at other communities, how they pick which sidewalks to start with, they look at where the schools are, where the people are, where the shopping is, where the traffic is, where people are trying to get to public transportation, etc. They don't usually look at a neighborhood street. I wish we had the money to just take care of it all at once, but that's probably about $8 million. So, over if we wanted to take care of the whole problem today. But one of the things with an assessment is if we had an assessment, then we'd have a regular stream of dollars coming in, and we could potentially take one of those low-cost bonds and do a whole lot of work at once and pay for it over time. So that's just one other consideration.
Just to be clear, can I respond? Are you interchanging assessment with tax?
Assessment is not a tax.
But every village resident would have to pay something.
Every
Property owner.
Every property owner.
It's like a water bill.
Yeah, it's a tax.
It's an assessment.
Okay.
It's defined differently. For one,
tax.
nonprofits don't pay taxes. Nonprofits can pay assessments.
Okay, just to play the semantic game a little further, because Carla's gonna shoot me if I don't say it. It is not a tax. However, in the comptroller's parlance, because of the way it affects property owners, it is considered to be something that would implicate tax cap issues. And so it's treated as a tax in terms of the value of it toward tax cap ultimately, but it's not defined as an actual tax, as a benefit assessment. From there, you have fun trying to separate that out.
It will go on your tax
It's a
bill.
tax. Yeah.
A tax bill.
It's a question whether the residents want to pay a little extra, and we're talking, maybe $100 a year. And whether the majority of the residents want to do that and see the sidewalks fixed. Because, or you take some money out of fund balance. There's no magic. It costs money. And it's got to come from somewhere. And obviously, we have not been spending money on this problem. This is why probably about half our sidewalks are not ADA compliant. So there's no getting around the fact that you need dollars.
Certainly it's going to cost money, but the thing I keep warning against is creating something that's going to cost more money for the same sidewalk.
I've heard it 10 times over. Yes.
Clearly it's not sinking in.
It's a question of who it costs.
Who it costs.
Anyway, we've gone over this.
The village's money is the residents' money, is the village's money, is the residents' money. Excuse me, it's board response. I'm part of the board. Last I
Okay,
checked.
go ahead.
Bernadette.
So there's a lot of concern lately, it seems like, that everybody's worried about how Frank will treat, me if I disagree with him. I want to make it very clear to everyone, I give him the hardest time. I genuinely do. And, you know, when he has an idea or something, I go, okay, explain why. And I grill him, and he's good with numbers. He does have numbers. But, you know, I appreciate the concern from everybody, but please be more concerned about Frank when I disagree with him on something.
Blink 3 times if you're in trouble.
But, so, I mean, I just wanted to give him a little credit there. I think he gets a lot of, you know, I don't know where that was coming from, but at the very least, when I disagree, there's listening, we talk things through. I may still come out of that conversation not agree with him, and I voted accordingly, and you guys have seen that.
Ethics.
Yeah, ethics. I landed differently than him on that. So I just want to put that to rest. You know, I think regardless of who we are on this board, I think there's a level of independence with all of us. And I want, you know, I mean, obviously we sit here and argue for the whole amount of time. So I did want to give Frank a little credit. I think he doesn't get enough credit in that regard. And I think that there's being some, I don't know, mischaracterization of him in that regard. So while I disagree with him sometimes, and I'll let him know, I do always appreciate that he does listen. And even to you guys, even when you guys disagree, and sometimes it still comes out here. But, you know, I just wanted to say that, you know, so thank you, Frank, for allowing me to disagree with you and not having, you know, any retribution, you know, put toward me. You've never done that. So I don't know why I felt that was needed to be said, but I was sick of hearing about it in the last few weeks. So anyway, I like working with you. I hope that we can all move forward in the coming year. And that's all I wanted to use my time for. Thanks.
If anybody's a sycophant in the threesome of the letter discussion, it would be me toward Mary and Bernadette during campaigning. I was like, hey, can I come along? They're kind of like, yeah, I guess so. So trust me, for those that think that I wield this iron fist, my God, not even close. If you know anything about Bernadette, it wouldn't be allowed to happen. Her parents are in the audience right now laughing and shaking their heads. So, oh my, go ahead. Anybody on this side of the table, that is.
Oh.
Up to you guys.
Go ahead. Okay. Okay, let's see. We had a lot of things that I should probably respond to. Anna, regarding, I can't use my contacts because that would be considered a conflict of interest to do something using my contacts at DOT. Not that, holy mackerel, I wish I had that kind of pull in the first place, but none of that's ever going to happen.
But if you slip me a piece of paper with a name and number, maybe I would dial it.
I'm happy to give you contacts to folks, and other people can pursue it, but I personally can't do that due to obviously the forms I have to fill out for conflict of interest. That being said, I believe it's either section 45 or section 46 of the state highway law, which pertains to villages, when a state highway is built, and any appurtenances like sidewalks, with the exception of drainage structures, the maintenance jurisdiction, maintenance responsibility falls upon the municipality. That's just the way that state law is written. So those trees, the sidewalk is all the ultimately the liability of the village. They can defer the construction and repair and maintenance to the adjacent property owner. And please understand too, nobody actually owns a sidewalk in the village. That's all village right away. So it's actually the village's property. So, you know, to try to wrap this up, we're responsible for fixing those. However, if we go to fix Route 50, every property owner that decides to fix it needs to go through the process of a DOT highway permit, just like the fire department went to do to fix their sidewalks, which means they need to go through a certain procedure. To do that, they have to hire a contractor who's qualified. It's going to go according to DOT specs. And given the width of those sidewalks, that the repair of those is going to be a huge expense.
That's where the grant and changing the law for the grant purpose would be, I think, very effective and necessary, to be honest with you.
Right, but I think if we're just still deferring it, I don't think we'll be eligible for grants. But again, that's something for Carla to do some further research. What was that? Somebody else brought something else up. There was a lot of things.
Peter brought something up.
Oh, right, yes. In regards to that letter, I did write the letter. And the term you were using was sycophant, which we've heard. The definition of sycophant that I was using was the term yes man or yes person. And I was referring that to out of the 100 or so motions we've had in the past 18 months, there's only been 2 instances where, maybe 3, that Bernadette voted not in lockstep. So if you're using the definition as a yes person, I think, roughly 97% agreement ratio, that it accurately categorizes that. Now, I hope I'm wrong, and I owe a public apology to Mary Price Bush because I accidentally put an S on there. And so that made the appearance. I don't know what your voting record is, so I can't make a claim if you're going to be a yes person or not. I have no foreknowledge of that. I'm just going on the facts for the last 18 months.
We often vote together on many motions.
And I wasn't referring to those. I was referring to the 100 or so controversial motions that have been brought up in the past 18 months. And
The same could be said about you, for
yeah, but
the exact same thing.
Well, it's not
And nobody
exactly.
called you that name. That name has another meaning to it. That's really nasty for these 2 women who do so much for our community.
Well, that's
They
not
do
that's
so
not
much
the
for-
meaning.
But that's not the meaning that everybody texted me. I'm leaving, sweetheart. I don't know.
Well,
It's just so rude. It's rude that you're belittling these 2 women. Again, attacking women. I'm sorry.
I don't think my statement had anything to do with their sex. So, yeah, okay. All right, I have nothing further.
I just, Carla, you were, you looked this up a few weeks ago. You feel comfortable just sharing briefly, like how trustees can interact with a committee if they're all there, or some of them are there? Or do you want to?
Well, just talk loud. It's right in front of you. You got one down there, so go ahead.
She's special.
She's loud though. I know she can be loud. You can be loud.
Talk about it.
I think, no, loud actually is not bad. Well, yes, I didn't look it up recently. I knew it, but and unfortunately Pete left, so I'm gonna say it to the air.
We'll let them.
You can watch the
As long as 3 trustees are not speaking together about village business, they can go to a village meeting. They don't lose their rights to go to a meeting by becoming trustees. That being said, I have advised that unless they have something specific to learn about at a meeting, it's probably not advisable to go just because of the appearance. And I say that to all of my municipalities. Especially when, for example, it's a zoning board or a planning board meeting and the governing legislative body is the body that appoints those people. It could be perceived by the members of those boards that if they don't do what you want, then they won't be reappointed. And again, that's not what I'm saying this board does. That is what I say to all of my municipal boards. So they have the right to go. They have the right to speak as an individual citizen. That not as a trustee, they shouldn't introduce themselves as a trustee. They shouldn't talk about village business together as trustees.
All right, thank you.
So? Yep. I'm gonna just jump into motions. How does that sound for everybody? You're welcome.
Can I get a motion that the BSBTA be authorized to conduct Small Business Saturday on November 25th, 2023 from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Proof of insurance has been provided.
Make the motion.
Trustee Fandesa,
Second.
trustee Cormos, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Can I get a motion approving the purchase of rock salt from Morton Salt. Truly, I thought they only did table salt, folks. For the price of $61.65 per ton and the total price of $12,330.
I'll make the motion.
That is table salt.
Yeah. A little umbrella, you got it? Yeah, you got it.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Baskin,
Second.
trustee Raymond, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Can I get a motion to approve the attached art projects for Village of Ballston Spa fiscal sponsorship for the 2024 Saratoga Arts Re-Grant Program as recommended by the Ballston Spa Committee on the Arts and authorize the mayor and village attorney to execute any final paperwork required.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Baskin, trustee Fandesa, discussion, sorry guys.
The only thing is, I guess, Carla, I guess we can work again. Last year, we did the memos of understanding and whatnot.
Yeah.
Work with you on that. So,
Absolutely.
Kate, I have questions on that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion to schedule a public hearing on draft local law number 3 committee code on November 27, 2023 at 7:01 p.m.
Make that motion.
Trustee Cormos,
I'll second.
trustee Baskin, discussion. Are we finally even on a form right now, or version?
The one I sent today.
Was that final?
I,
Looks fine. Nobody's.
Carly, it's really your voice.
no, I didn't hear any comments except from Liz, so I put her comments in and my advice, and that's my understanding, that's where we are.
Your advice to the board is that this is not appropriate for code, correct?
My advice is that I don't think it's necessary to be in a code, and that's from speaking with other communities, other municipal attorneys, and NICOM. But legally, it can be a code.
I guess, is this type of policy a code in some other municipalities?
The only one that Liz sent me was South Hold, and that was different because it was just more general than the specifics that this code has.
But there is an example of committee policy in the code.
It's a different committee policy law. Yes, Sean, yes, you can do it. I told you you could do it. I don't believe it's a good idea because you already have a policy that you can use instead of codifying something, which does require significant time to change it. And I understand what's going on, and you do what you do, everyone wants to do. But at this point, I don't think it's a good idea, but that's not my call. I'm not elected. I'm here for another month, and we'll see what happens.
I'm gonna bring up a 4-letter word with 5 letters. Did NICOM state that it's unenforceable?
Well, there's no enforceability in it. There's no way to enforce it. And that was something that I brought up too. There's like, if someone doesn't do something, I know that was talked about tonight with enforceability with other local laws. If someone doesn't follow it, I don't know what the repercussions are.
Well, it would just be an ethics violation.
Oh, well, I don't know if it would, okay, I don't know how it would be an ethics violation, but okay.
Well, if you don't enforce the policies and codes.
Well, how would you? No, if an individual from the community doesn't follow it.
Oh.
This is really for the board, isn't it?
No, this is how everything gets done, how committee people have to apply. It says they have to use the committee interest form. So it is for the.
So we can
public.
enforce that. We can say, well, you didn't fill out a form, so.
But what if someone doesn't? It's how you guys want it, and that's fine. I don't think it necessary, but you legally can do it.
Want me to call the question?
But no one else has given me comments, so I'm assuming everybody else is good with it.
I mean, what I saw were pretty minor edits, so it seemed pretty much the same as it always has been before.
Well, I had to change some things and take things out and create it into a law, but
it's for a public hearing next week. Let's hear what the public has to say.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Whatever you guys
Schedule it
wanna do.
in.
You're not here on that day?
I'm not gonna be here on Monday. Not because of this, but I'm not here at the next meeting.
Why don't we go to roll call vote, because I'm assuming there's gonna be some dissension here.
Trustee Baskin,
Yes.
trustee Raymond,
Yes,
trustee Van Denza.
No, as stated, it is unnecessary as code. I think it would be a problem if we hamstringed ourselves into something very specific. The point of a policy is to have some flexibility, and if it is not enforceable as written, there should be no point to this at all.
Trustee Corliss,
Yes.
Mayor Rossi.
I'm gonna vote yes, because I actually want to hear public view on this and learn what pieces of it should be repealed, if anything, when it comes to January or February, and we have the opportunity to reconsider this at that point in time, because I think that there are going to be portions of this that won't withstand it. But I would like to hear now to know what we should be doing later, ultimately. So I'll vote yes, just to have a public hearing at least. That is 4-1. Motion carries. I'm gonna have to rewrite this on the fly, so Terry, forgive me as I do this.
I'd like to put this motion forward.
But we just did that.
We did.
Oh, no, motion E.
That's what he was doing.
I'm about to reword it in something that we discussed earlier.
No, I didn't agree to.
Well, I'm gonna call for this motion. If nobody wants to do it, we'll.
No, I think the thing is we only have 2 weeks to do a pre-application. And I think to spend time talking to, and I've checked her website, and she has nothing listed for transportation.
Did he?
Yeah, he's done transportation.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with this, $3,000.
Yeah.
With a reputable person, and we're tight time frame, I'm fine with this.
Yes.
Going with that
Yeah, I
person.
think, I, for another grant, consider her, but we're talking about a tight time frame, and it's $3,000. And I would like to call him and get started on it tomorrow. It's a very complicated application. Take a look at it.
Can I get a motion to hire G&G Municipal Consulting Proposal attached to update the 2021 TAP CMAQ grant application for the board to authorize the mayor to execute? Hold on, Liz, this doesn't even make sense. I'm reading it now in real time. Simply updating a grant application doesn't submit anything.
No. Authorize the mayor to execute any documents associated with the grant.
Nothing in here is talking about submittal of a new grant. It's just the verbiage is not specific here to actually what you're intending to have done.
To update the grant application for the board to authorize any necessary with the,
Say, so add the word submission after the word grant.
yeah, grant submission.
Oh, yeah. What is the intention of the grant amount?
What is the grant amount? We don't have the exact, it was 1.1 million 2 years ago, so it'll be somewhat higher.
And so we'd have to contribute $220,000, you're saying, on that.
Yep, that's what the board agreed to the last time around. That is expenditure will be expended over 3 to 5 years. Yeah, they do in kind. They actually do take in kind.
I'm worth $7,700, so I don't think my in-kind's gonna go far.
Yeah, they do also.
Allow me some discretion here to word this, I think, the way you intend it.
Okay.
Can I get a motion to hire G&G Municipal Consulting Proposal attached to prepare a 2024 TAP CMAQ grant application through updating of the 2021 TAP CMAQ grant application, and for the board to authorize the mayor to execute any necessary documents associated with the submission of the grant, including the commitment to contribute 20% of the total grant amount.
Trustee Benedetto, I'll second it. Okay. I'm going to propose an amendment that we change the wording of this to a motion to allow the mayor, a motion to hire a consultant to prepare a 2024 TAP CMAQ grant application for the board for the not to exceed amount of $5,000, and to authorize the mayor to select such consultant after informal discussion with the board, and to authorize the mayor to execute any necessary documents associated with the grant, including the commitment to contribute 20% of the total grant amount. I do too as the writer. So now the motion in front of us is,
Wait a second, what about the first motion?
she made a motion, I seconded it.
The point is, I think we should look at potential of someone else as well. The
So
amount of
I'm-
people-
$2,000 more.
There's no time, and I'm comfortable with this person, this organization. They did a great job for us, with the survey.
The survey is not a grant.
They lost the grant.
We just got 2 grants through Julie Berline. Let's, actually, technically, I think they pay a certain amount that we can ride on for preparation of other grants.
Yeah, she's also not gotten grants. It's not like she gets. I'm sure she's fine. There's nothing wrong with her, but.
She's 2 for 2.
But hasn't she done more than 2? Or someone else did the previous one that they didn't get? So I'm fine with this consultant. And my main concern is the timing and the complexity of this grant, and I would rather not have a delay in the choosing of someone else.
Roll call vote.
Which motion are you?
The motion that's been presented by the people that first and seconded it.
So you're talking about the amendment?
Yeah, that's the motion in front of you.
Okay.
Trustee Baskin,
I vote no on the amendment.
trustee Raymond,
I vote yes on the amendment.
trustee Von Denza,
Yes.
trustee Cormos,
No.
Mayor Rossi.
Yes. 3-2, the amended motion carries.
When will we make a decision on a consultant?
I think Burnett actually is making inroads with Julie, it sounds like, so we have her go in that direction with it.
Who decides who gets it?
I do, but I will go informally to all of you because I'm not gonna make that decision alone either.
If she's not the right person, she's not the right person, vice versa. If he's not the right person.
Well, we have a tight timeline, so
Sure.
we should pick somebody who we think will work and not just say no, no, no. We need to pick somebody.
It's not gonna be about no, it's about, you have one person that's willing to do it. We were gonna check to see the other one, if she's able to do it, what the cost is, and if it's a granted of $5,000, then I'm locked out anyway from going to her, so I would have to go to Grasso's firm.
How will we pick between them if they're both willing to do it?
I will go to you.
Well,
Boss.
one's willing to do it for 3,000, so why you raised it to 5? So that you could pay this consultant
Well, to give,
more?
no, to basically give some ability here, if, let's say she's saying, look, Jay's gonna forget to do X, Y, or Z, or I've done this before, and here's the things that he isn't offering, I'm not gonna show her the proposal. Although it is in the attachments, unfortunately, but
What's our timing? What do you, how soon are we
This
gonna
is
do
gonna
this?
be done tomorrow?
I'm sure Bernadette, I saw an email between Mike and Bayshore and her that she's around this week, so I think she's available generally, so.
Because I'd like to see her previous experience writing transportation grants.
We'll see what we got.
Okay? And I think that should be the major criteria.
Is that
And I'll ask Jay to provide the list of ones he's worked on.
Yeah, and I don't really know either of them in detail in terms of their history, but I'm just concerned about the timing. So if we can move this along, that'd be good.
Okay. Well, we'll get this moving. Other business, can you bring up, I don't have it in front of me easily right now, the deputy treasurer.
Oh, yeah.
Can I get a motion to appoint Rebecca Little as deputy treasurer of the Village of Ballston Spa with a probationary period of 6 months before hire and appointment would be to the lockstep of the treasurer's timeline of appointment. Trustee Fandesa, with salary at the previous level that was afforded to the prior deputy treasurer. Now, okay, do you accept that? Sorry about that. Okay, Trustee Fandesa, Trustee Raymond, discussion. All in favor?
Wait, why are we replacing the person?
Read your email.
Why?
Read your email.
The personnel issue, can't. Oh, okay, you can't.
Right, that's what I'm trying to say.
We've got a fair amount of turnover.
You guys read the email, I'm
I read
assuming.
it.
Thank you.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any other business?
Have you heard anything from the county now that the elections are over?
No, there's been no movement on that from what I understand. So I'll be talking to Steve Bolger hopefully soon because I'm gonna be tapping on the shoulder for the 14,999 for the Roosevelt Park fencing. So I'll be definitely up there soon. So
Right, and the supervisor with Monroe was not reelected.
Monroe.
So how, did they pick somebody new or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
In January, they'll do that.
In January, okay.
So, things in flux in the county as it is. So anything else? Sorry. Can I get a motion that the vouchers be audited, the meeting be adjourned at 9:57 p.m. Make that 9:58 p.m.
I will make that motion.
Trustee Raymond. Trustee Baskin, discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you the Monday following.
Okay, I heard that before. I know, but they really are.
I'm amazed you haven't fallen.
That's what happened.
Literally, I sent
Yes, what do you want to see?
Different answer.